It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
What are you talking about?
No, it's not him. There is only one more. There is only one more. That's it. One more.
Get a rise!
No!
They saw your team put up zero effort.
Wake up!
Remember in the old days they used to have oxygen for them. Where's the oxygen?
Play like absolute just garbage.
This is the Sports Loudmouths.
Yay!
Man, can you keep it down? I'm trying to introduce here. With Errol Marks, Speedy Petey, and Josh Silverberg.
You're not even a has-been. You're a never was. You're a never was. You're a never was. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Sports Loudmouths. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Mr. Speedy Petey, and the great Joshua Little J. Silverberg. Remember, you can listen to our show every single Wednesday and Thursday at 9 p.m. Remember, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. You can call us at 631-500-0548. You can also, ladies and gentlemen, download our app by going to iOS, which is WWSRN, or Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Speedy Petey, what's going on, buddy boy?
Well, I've been busy today, but happy to be here for another loud show that we're going to have.
Oh, yes.
And hoping it's even louder than
loud
yesterday.
as possible. We will take it to higher heights, as everybody knows. If people don't listen to the Weekend Crunch, you're definitely going to love this show because there's going to be a lot of chaos on this show throughout the weeks. But Mr. Joshua Silverberg, what's going on, man?
Nothing. I just want to lean my elbow in just a little bit more. I just want to stretch it out a bit. You know, a little like.
Why's that?
For what reason?
Little conforto there. That's what I like to call it now.
No, is that what you call it, the conforto?
I'm doing well, guys. It's always good to be here. And
well, why don't you tell the fans what happened to you today? Because of a long show last night, you decided to hit somebody in a car accident.
God's sakes. Well, you know.
And speed that up. Speed that story up, too.
Hopefully they're not listening. That's what I'm hoping. Pretty much what happened was this morning, driving to work. I live out in Suffolk and out in South Setauket, and I work in the city. So commuting every day is not really ideal for me. But, you know, I make it work as I go. And then pretty much what happened was
you got into a car accident, game over, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the woman just kept, you know, the brakes were going, and then I tried to stop in time. Once, twice, I stopped. The third time, no luck. And now that's what I'm doing.
There's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game for you.
It's terrible. I mean,
for you?
It's pretty much just my front bumper and my grills that need to be probably.
Well, you need grills in your mouth. I mean, we all need grills in our mouth. I want to be the next Bubba Sparks on radio. What do you think about that?
You know, I don't want you to have any grills or any of that.
I think grills would be good on this show. I think the smile of gold and silver and platinum, I think I would really look good with grills. What do you think, Speedy?
Maybe.
I mean, Speedy doesn't know anything about grills.
I don't.
You know,
Speedy has dirty underwear. That's what he has. He has dirty underwear.
Really, Carl? Once, twice, 3 times a lady, Carl.
That's
really?
right. I like that, Carl. I like that.
Carl, for the record, I do not do my underwear laundry separate from the rest of my laundry.
Well, at least you don't smell your dirty underwear like somebody I know. The Beeve has a very interesting friend. No, his friend, and I'm not going to mention any names, told me at Thanksgiving 2 years ago that before he throws his dirty underwear in the laundry, he smells it for some reason.
Why?
I have no idea. It was a very weird conversation, and somehow his underwear got brought into the conversation, and that he sniffs his dirty underwear.
Does he do that as like a weird fetish thing going on?
Maybe it is a fetish. I mean,
is he on the show Hoarders? Is he on those shows?
Well, I mean, serial killers. There are a bunch of serial killers that actually steal women's shoes before they kill the woman. So, and obviously, maybe they'll steal their underwear. Serial killers like to steal underwear. So maybe he's a future serial killer. I don't know. What do you think, Speedy?
Who knows? You wouldn't rule anything out at this rate, though. You got to be creative in some way, and if some reason have their own identity of underwear. But okay.
Well, we've got a great show lined up for you guys. We're going to have a lot of NFL. We're going to talk a lot about the NFL. Not anything really fully with the Jets or the Zach Wilson and Sam Darnold dispute. Very interesting things going on in the last couple of weeks with the quarterback and the plays of what teams are going to need a quarterback in the future, and maybe a quarterback will become available in the next few years, Deshaun Watson, maybe a Russell Wilson, and why the quarterback position is starting to translate in the NFL as a pitcher. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is, with baseball being that pitching wins championships, some people predict to be, are certain to say that the quarterback is the reason why the NFL teams win Super Bowls, which I think is a crock of you-know-what. But that's just something that we're going to get into a little bit later. We're also going to talk about the Mets win today and how Michael Conforto cheated. So we will talk about that a little bit later. And obviously, we'll talk about the NBA. We have a lot to talk about. We'll get into the New York Islander trade and why some of these trades coming up in the next few days. The NHL trade deadline is over on Monday. So what teams need to do to be a playoff contender and what teams shouldn't do at the trade deadline that could screw their team's future in the very near future. But first things first, there was a story that came out tonight, actually this morning, I read former NFL player Philip Adams shot and killed 5 people, including a family in South Carolina, police say. And this is a scary, scary story. And I don't know where this story, why Philip Adams, and I remembered him, he played for the New York Jets for 1.5 years. I think he played with Rex Ryan, if I'm not mistaken. He was on Rex Ryan's team. But he played with the Jets. He played with quite a few NFL teams. And he actually went to this family's house, this doctor, a very respectable doctor in his line of work, and he shot and killed the doctor, his wife, his 2 grandchildren, and I guess somebody else in the house. They didn't really mention what person that was, but it wasn't a family member. I think it was a butler or a nanny or something like that. So it is a real sad story. And if you guys haven't checked it out, you can go to Yahoo. It's all over Yahoo. Also, if you go to Nations, I think it's usatoday.com story and news for today, you can find the story. It's a sad, sad story. And I don't know. I look at CTE, and I will go over this over and over again, why a lot of these football players, and by the way, Philip Adams actually shot himself after he killed these people. So he killed himself after he killed 5 people. So actually 6 people died because of this incident. But CTE has been a story for the NFL. The NFL has tried to hide this year in and year out, over and over and over again. And this story, I don't know if Philip Adams had CTE or he had brain trauma or brain damage, but this is starting to stink. And what I mean by that is, with the NFL, if anybody didn't watch Concussions with Will Smith and what they did to that doctor and how the NFL was trying to throw things under the rug, guys like DeBrickashaw Ferguson and Willis what's his name again? The linebacker from San Francisco, Patrick Willis, and Bolin, another linebacker, Borland. You say, speak up, Speedy. I need your help on this one. I'm trying to feed information. You're sitting there with a stick stuck up your ass. But this story with CT, a lot of these players have retired. Calvin Johnson being another one at the age of 30, leaves the NFL at a young age because of these stories coming out with CTE and what the NFL was trying to hide and trying not to adopt to the fans, where the fans were going to throw them under the bus. And this whole Colin Kaepernick, I think that was a story that the NFL was trying to hide, the CTE story. And the Colin Kaepernick was a big story, but it wasn't a story like this, where NFL players were taking their lives and taking other people's lives because of the brain trauma, the brain damages that they have withstand playing in the NFL, and that the NFL were sued and I think only had to distribute between $50 and $100 million. And some of these players who don't have benefits, don't have welfare or any of those things, or Medicaid or Medicare, because they were NFL players. The NFL, I believe, should be giving these guys full-fledged benefits after they're done with the NFL. This is a multi-billion-dollar organization. Roger Goodell made sure that him and his family have benefits for the rest of their lives, even when he's done with his career. He's got free jet privileges and all this other stuff that he got. And he got, I think, $50 million a year, $48 million a year as the commissioner of the NFL. I think when you look at the big picture and you look at where the NFL is, and I don't know if this is a CTE story. I don't know if we can blame Philip Adams going crazy and killing this family because of CTE, but it's starting to stink. And I think the NFL is going to try to brush this under the rug like we've seen over the last couple of years, trying to hide stories when these stories are starting to come to a head. And I just think that with the trauma that we've seen, not just in football, even in baseball, look at David Wright. David Wright was not the same player when he got hit with a baseball in the head. Mike Piazza wasn't the same player when he got hit in the head with a baseball. Even Giancarlo Stanton he's the one with that new helmet, that whole design of new helmets.
Right.
That came from Giancarlo Stanton being hit and being pegged in the head. So, and baseball, those are accidents. But football, with all the rule changes, the NFL trying to protect their players and trying to protect the game, and I think that it's long overdue. It has been long overdue with all this, and again, I don't know if it's CTE that caused this problem, but it's starting to stench. It's starting to stink because I think that all these stories that have been coming out a year in and year out from people, some of these guys are donating their brains to science to test CTE. There are quite a few players, aka Aaron Hernandez, who when he hung himself in jail, he actually donated his brain to science, and they found out that he had not only bad CTE, one of the worst they've ever seen. One of the worst they ever seen. So him killing like he did over the years and all the crazy stuff and all the stories that came out from his camp on possibly killing 3 people. He got out with the 2 murders before the Floyd murder that he had over there in New England or Connecticut. I mean, this story is starting to really stand out, throughout today and really all the sports stories. And I don't think people are bringing this up. I don't. I think this is a scary situation the NFL is going to have to figure out, and they're going to have to handle this the right way, in which they haven't handled this the right way with the CTE situation, and they tried to brush it under the rug.
Carl mentions that nothing will change, and they don't pay benefits when the average career is 3 years. And he agrees with you, but lifetime extended benefits won't happen. It's still something that if you're that big of an organization, you could at least do something with it. And it seems like Roger Goodell all the time, no matter who the player is. And Philip Adams was a special teams guy for the most part, bumped around 4 different teams. He played with the Jets, like Errol mentioned, 2014. So I think that was right at the end of Rex Ryan, I think the last year. So not all these players are going to get that kind of money to be able to do that, like Errol's mentioning. So at least have something. They don't have to break the bank for it, because obviously they have to do a bunch of different things. But that has been one of the biggest problems of Roger Goodell's tenure as NFL commissioner, and that's why a lot of former players are coming out at him for what he hasn't done to help these guys out. And we're seeing more players get these kinds of issues because of it, regardless of what ends up happening. This guy might just be a crazy sick guy, but still, regardless of what happens, this is still an issue for the NFL.
I think when we talk about CTE, everybody always finds it to be like a sensitive subject, because there are people out there that say, "Oh, it's not a thing. Come on, it's the way it is. It's the way it goes." That's not true at all. I mean, look at the way the players. I mean, let's go back to what ESPN used to do. ESPN used to do the whole jacked up segment on the NFL countdown shows, right? When they would show players getting walloped by these tackles, and they would have the little segments about it. I mean, Junior Seau is another player. Seau was another player that, killed himself. He crashed his car, off the road, and he died. And he also, I mean, if you look back, I believe it was the ESPN 30 for 30 special that they had about him. I mean, he did a tackle in a game, shook it off like it was nothing, and went back into the game. He 100% had a concussion during that, but during that time, they just shrugged it off and said, "You're okay. Shake it off and get back in there." And then you look at the equipment and the way the NFL equipment is today. It's so much heavier now with the way the helmets are and everything like that. It's so much different than it was 30 and 40 years ago. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, they're trying to teach the right way to tackle, which is lean in, not lean down with your head. And that's why also now you're seeing it. People are getting penalized for it in the game, but I mean,
college football too.
Yeah, always. They get disqualified instantly. Yep. They're automatically disqualified in college football. That's the thing. And I agree with what both of you are saying. I mean, there's so many different perspectives on different players that you've seen. And I've seen that movie that you mentioned, Errol, the one with Will Smith. And then it was really amazing how they basically just shrugged the guy off. They shrugged the doctor off and they pretended
tried to destroy his career. They tried to destroy the guy's career.
Yeah. I mean,
and he was trying to help the game.
Made him to look like a rug. That's what they did. They made him look like a doormat. And they tried to really bring this guy down, and turned out the guy was right. And again, Roger Goodell hasn't done anything to discuss it, to do anything to help these guys. And you're seeing more and more players in the future get this, and really talented players are retiring early. Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson, you mentioned. Some of these guys are retiring very early because they don't want to have these lingering effects later on. I mean, Wayne Corbett had how many concussions?
6.
8, 9?
6.
Wes Welker had a lot too.
Wes Welker had a ton. I mean, it's just crazy when you look back on it, but nothing's being done about it. I don't know if anything's going to get done.
I will say this. I don't know what the story is. I do know that 5 people were murdered by a football player, and there's nothing that has said why he murdered this family. Why would he go out there and legitimately kill a doctor who could have been his doctor? I don't even know. The story hasn't really fully come out. But why would he go and ghost and kill these people for no damn reason? I mean, there had to be a reason. This doctor was very well respected. He's a 70-year-old doctor. He's very well respected around his line of medicine. And this guy, who I obviously, he's not a very well-known football player, but Adams played in the NFL for a significant amount of time. I think he played for 5 years in the NFL. And he goes out and he kills a family, kills 2 kids for no reason. Now, something tells me that this could be a CTE situation. I think that the NFL should try, or that Philip Adams' family should make sure. Well, he blew his brains out, so I don't know if you could even do a study on his brains. So
probably at this point,
probably not. So now we don't know if the reason why he killed his family was because of CTE. But it's really estranged and really crazy when you think about the story that we hear story after story after story with CTE, and we don't know what's the cause of this. We do know it's head trauma. I know the NFL is trying to change rules, the punt returns, the kick returns. They're trying to change it, and they think that's the only reason why this is the cause of CTE. But I think it has a lot to do with just more than that. I think these players, when they're kids, they're not treated the right way. They're not trained the right way on hitting. They always lead with their heads. That's what I've heard so many football players come out and say that over the years, that we were trained and we were taught as kids to lead with our heads, to go. And people say it's all about technique. How are you supposed to technically savvy to tackle somebody and knowing what you're trained as a kid or what you have done since you were a little kid, drop your head and try to take their legs out, try to take their body out, and not try and just kind of try to change the way you're tackling somebody? There's no physical way that if you're doing this year in and year out the same exact way, that you're going to just say, you know what, I'm going to just change the way I'm going to tackle because that's what the NFL told me. And if I lead with my head or lead with the crown of my helmet, I'm going to get suspended, or I'm going to get fined, or I'm going to get thrown out of a game.
Carl mentioned Dave Duerson as well. Duerson, who was a 2-time Super Bowl champion safety for the Bears, for the Giants, and for the Cardinals as well. A self-inflicted gunshot wound at age 50 back in 2011. Another one that was swept under the rug, too. Never heard of that. And that was before the movie came out, too. So, Carl, good point on that one. I just want to go back to something you said, Josh, too, which was interesting. The players retiring early now, too, and you wonder if that's something that could motivate the NFL to look into this more, because if they're going to lose more star players for longer periods of or shorter periods of time, where they're only going to play 6 years in comparison to a potential 10-year career for a superstar player, that could be something that benefits them too. Because obviously you want to do it for the safety purposes, the player's safety, because again, players are going to want to come into the league more and they're not going to have to worry as much. But still, if these players are dropping out of the game that early, especially so young, because of that, that's going to push the NFL to do it more, because that's their money that they're going to be losing.
It hasn't yet. It hasn't
so
yet.
So far, it hasn't. But again, if there's a ripple effect of these trends,
ripple effect. Oh, how about this? How about somebody go and blow up a building and kill 2,000 people? Maybe an ex-NFL player should just go out and blow up a building and kill about 1,000 or 2,000 people. Maybe they'll open their eyes and realize that there's a problem here.
I would hope it doesn't take to that extreme, but again, we never know with Roger Goodell.
Well, it's not even Roger Goodell. We're talking about Gary Bettman in the NHL. We're talking about.
Oh yeah, they're terrible with that too.
We're also talking about other sports. How about soccer and European football? Look at the brain trauma that these guys are getting kneed in the head, head butted in the head. These guys are having concussions and they go right back and play in the games. This is a huge problem with not just sports, but in so many ways of destruction. How about these car injuries and these people? People are shrugging over a concussion when they get into a car accident. As long as they don't break their leg or shatter their knee, they send them home instead of being on top of them and making sure that these guys are significantly okay after they come out of the hospital, and maybe keeping them overnight and doing tests on their brain or brain trauma. Because to me, people aren't looking at this. People aren't staring and making sure that this is the reason. I see Carl saying Jesus, Errol. I don't know what he means by Jesus, Errol. I'm just speaking the truth right now. The NFL.
I think about the building thing. That might have been what it was. It might have been about the building.
But it's true. What is it going to take for the NFL to do something? What is it going to take?
It's going to be too big of an extreme.
What is it going to take?
And Arrow, you know this. What about in boxing and MMA? What about what the shots those guys are taking?
It's not even as bad. Just think about it this way. There are more athletes in football, baseball, and soccer that have concussion problems than boxers and mixed martial artists. Just think about it. When you think about these guys getting pounded in the head, and most MMA fights end up on the ground, and they're usually submitted or they're wrestling or whatever they're doing. Yes, they get elbows. Yes, they get punches to the head, but they're not as significant because they're being hit with gloves. These guys are being hit with crowns of helmets. You know, they don't shatter. They're hard as rocks. If you get somebody under their chin, you can knock them square out. I mean, seriously, we've seen, how many times did we see, what's his name again, from the Bengals, who was perfect, who tried to hurt people, tried to drive his helmet into their skulls, okay? We saw what he did with, years and years ago in the playoffs with Antonio Brown. And Antonio Brown was knocked out, and he went back into the game. He went back into the game after he was flat out knocked out in the playoff game in the fourth quarter.
Did you hear Perfect after that game? He said, Antonio Brown winked at me and he was like trying to act or something like that. Yeah, okay.
Now I see Carl saying concussion protocols is solid in high school now. Took a long time though. But
he's right about that.
Yeah, but that's high school. That's middle school. These guys are professional football players, 300-pound behemoths, beasts of men that try to kill each other. And changing the way they tackle is the wrong way of going around and trying to figure this out. Now, I'm not telling you not to tackle the player, but there's got to be some other way that the NFL has to figure out, because this guy, Phillip Adams, has been out of football for how many years?
5.
5 years. He's been out of football. Now, I don't know if this is brain trauma or brain damage, but like I said, it's starting to stink like that. It's starting to stink
maybe they have to change
like
the equipment. I don't know. Maybe they got to line the helmets. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, maybe the helmets are too heavy.
How about playing with something softer? Playing with a softer helmet. You're probably better off. In the olden days, in the 40s and the 30s, they wore pads.
A classic.
Yeah, they wore pads.
Listen, honestly, people were getting concussed, I think, at that time.
No, not at all. Nope. Not at all. So obviously, it's a helmet problem. Obviously, not protecting the athlete.
I will say this really quick, and this is not me being biased or anything like that, but because I do the wrestling show on Tuesday nights, and I will say this, and I give the WWE does a very, very good job of concussion protocol. When somebody in their company gets a concussion, they hold them out for months. Sometimes they even force them to retire because they had the one concussion. They're like, because again, it's a lot of head trauma. But then I think Aaron and I, we were talking about this a few days ago. It's interesting. A guy like Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit had a ton of head trauma because he used to do the headbutts off the turnbuckle, right? Mm-hmm. And he killed his family. Clearly, the CTE was involved in that case, and it's just like, you see these things. It's just crazy, but, like what Speedy and I were saying about the superstars. How many big-name superstars, even Patrick Willis, who was still in his prime, these guys are still in their prime, and they're going to lose these players because they don't want to deal with this anymore, not just for themselves, but for their family's safety in the future, because they don't want to have to be the brunt of, what if I become this mess of a man, and then I have to leave it up with my wife and my kids, and they have to see me go through this, and it becomes a disaster, and the family kind of just becomes a terrible, sticky situation. That's why these guys are leaving early. They don't want to deal with this.
Carl says WWE has the worst benefits alive, unless it has changed in the last couple of years. You being the wrestling guy, you want to chime in on that?
Now, when he says the worst wrestling benefits, what does he mean by benefits?
All right, Carl, what do you mean by benefits? Yeah,
I will tell you this. In regards to when guys get hurt and girls get hurt, they always send them out to who's the famous surgeon that's out in Alabama? Who's
I have no idea. I don't know any famous surgeons, so you're asking the wrong person.
Oh no, I'm saying sports surgeon. I'm trying to think of he does.
Dr. Jeffries. I remember Dr. Jeffries is a guy that he's done UCL surgeries and stuff like that. There are so many doctors. The Redskins, the Washington football team has a very famous, I forget his name, very famous surgeon that is practically doing all these different surgeries, these knees and ACL surgeries.
Hopefully he's the one that didn't misdiagnose Trent Williams.
James Andrews. They send them all to James Andrews when they have an injury.
Mm-hmm.
And James Andrews was one of the best surgeons in the world. So when in regards to like the benefits not being that great, okay, that's maybe in regards to that. But when you're getting sent to a top-notch surgeon in the country, I would think that that's pretty good. Just throwing it out there.
I just think
I don't know.
I think that this story is going to start, and they're going to try to brush this under the rug. I'm telling you right now, you're not going to hear anything about this story after this is over because he blew his head off. So he's not going to court. He's not going to jail. What are these families going to do? I doubt this guy Philip Adams has any money. So what is it? Even if the family tries to sue his family for money, what does he have, and what is he going to have? This guy was a doctor, a very well-known doctor, 70 years old. His wife, his beautiful wife, who's probably 68, 69 years old, and his grandchildren were murdered. You can't bring lives back. No money in the world could bring lives back. So to me, this is a disgusting story, which again is going to be brushed under the rug. Nobody's even going to talk about it. And even if it was a CTE problem, we're not going to know because the guy blew his head off. So there you go. So I think
Carl says WWE doesn't pay for that.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't care. How's that? We're not talking about the WWE, Carl. We're talking about this particular situation is starting to stink. And I think the NFL has been doing it for years, brushing it under the rug because they're not protecting the players. They're not giving the players any kind of money or any gratuity at the end of their careers, benefits that can help these people if they're having problems, medical problems. There are people living in their cars. They don't have anything anymore because the NFL doesn't take care of their own. They don't take care of their players.
And with players in all sports really becoming advocates now and standing up for different benefits, different rights a lot more, it's going to be a bigger issue if they don't fix this because, one, like we were saying earlier, players are going to retire early and not play for other leagues. And number two, because of what they're asking for and the power that they're getting, especially the MLB, NBA, especially the most, these guys are going to take a strike on the league where if other leagues end up forming or they end up having shorter careers, that's going to make it look bad. And eventually, if they're going to have all this money too, because contracts are getting bigger, they could end up suing them for a lot more too. I know the NFL right now is a huge billion-dollar corporation, but that doesn't mean, again, down the line that these players aren't going to go against them like that.
And Carl, I'm not throwing you under the bus. I never brought up the WWE. Josh brought up the WWE. I think the WWE is an entertainment. Yes, you can get concussions because they're jumping off of turnbuckles and all that other stuff. But I never brought the WWE. And honestly, I'm not trying to compare the WWE to the NFL because the way the NFL has handled this, they have handled this completely wrong. Completely wrong, and that's
what rebuttal it. And then end it completely.
What?
Just really quick, the thing about with the they actually do pay for all the surgeries and stuff like that.
Now they do. Now they do.
No, but they always have WWE. They always have. They always have.
I'm talking about the NFL first of all. I don't even care.
That's all I want to say is that they actually. I just looked up.
The NFL got sued by the players' union for $100 million. That's all they gave up. All those players that after they're done retiring, they have no benefits, nothing to help their families. They have so many problems: knee problems, ankle problems, chest problems, arm problems, shoulder problems.
Didn't Dean Smith help with that too, or whatever his name is? The guy that runs the Players Association.
They're going to make the deal, but Roger Goodell and the owners do not want to make a deal, or didn't want to make the deal at the same time. So I think that this problem is starting to reach not only papers but throughout the country in professional sports. And I think the NFL should be the lead company to stand in front and do something about this. And the fact that guys, certain athletes, certain big name football players retiring at a young age should send a message to the NFL.
You would hope it does, and then maybe it'll take them to do it verbally in order to do it. But enough of a sample size, like we're seeing now, is going to do it at some point because the NFL is I mean, obviously, young talent's going to benefit over veteran talent for the most part in the NFL because everyone wants to see the flashy young guys. But still, how much of those big names for fans that don't know all these younger players and don't study the draft and stuff like that, how much of those are going to lose out on them? And again, the players, I know Carl was saying, what about those who say shut up and dribble? Yeah, that's a whole different thing because there's a difference between them speaking up for different issues within other elements and their own game. This is their own game. This is their direct line of work. This is their direct line of passion, their dream. They always wanted to play in the NFL, and if they have these kinds of issues and other players have these kinds of issues, people are going to shy away from it and not have the same dream of playing football anymore. And the NFL will have a big problem if enough of those players stand up.
And another story I want to get into, which has been really bothering me, and throughout the years, the NBA has pretty much tried to get rid of high school players going right to the NBA. You have to go and play at least a one and done, 1 year of college basketball before you decide to go into the NBA draft. And I think that the way professional sports are, and if you believe you're a good enough athlete, that why are MLB players, why are high school players getting drafted at such a young age? How many times have we seen from the Dominican Republic 14-year-old, 13-year-old players being signed by professional teams before they even step on their high school fields because they think they're the next big superstar? Why is the MLB allowed to do that and sign underage kids? Why the NBA can't do that as athletes? When you talk about guys like LeBron James, I think LeBron James was the last player. I think he was the last high school player to go from high school into the pros. The NBA completely got rid of that. And to me, it ruins college basketball. It absolutely does, because the great players are going right to the NBA and they're not really developing in college basketball. But don't you want, if you're a college basketball fan, don't you want to watch players that want to win a national championship, that want to play and have the opportunity to experience the college life? Why are you going to force these kids, these poverty kids that have nothing, they come from families with nothing, they live on the streets, their brothers sell drugs, their mother and father sell drugs just to try to put food on the table? Why, if these kids are available or they're ready to play professional sports, why are you holding them back?
Yeah, that's why I never understood the argument with the fact that these one-and-done players being out of the game are going to hurt college basketball. Because college basketball is a whole different fan base. It's a whole different aspect of what they succeed with. Everyone loves the tournament. Everyone loves the upset. Everyone loves the rivalries. Students love the rivalries. So I don't get why that would hurt the NCAA as much in terms of, yeah, you might want to see these flashy 5-star recruits, but there's going to be other 5-star recruits as a result of that too. And there's going to be other guys that maybe think, all right, maybe I want to improve my 1 year in college. There are going to be guys that want to improve their draft stock. Other stars will rise as a result of these guys not being here either, just because of the competition level. So I don't think that's going to hurt college basketball at all in a sense. Now, in terms of what they might benefit off money-wise, I don't know. But there's still going to be other teams that rise. There's still going to be other players, the other superstars that emerge as a result of this. And there's going to be high school players that flop too. So it's not going to be an exact science.
I think when you look at it is, I feel like they try to turn these high school kids and they maybe think letting them go to college for a year, maybe it makes them humble and it builds character, learning from Coach K and Calipari and Izzo and these guys. I never understood the whole point of it. And also, let's be realistic here. What classes are these kids really going to for 1 year? I mean, what do they really do? What did Matt Leinart take? I think he took like dance 101 when he was quarterbacking at USC. I think that's what he was doing. These guys are probably like, this is what they do. They're going out, they're partying, and I feel like they're not really learning any lessons because they already have the trajectory of, I'm going to the NBA after 1 year. It really doesn't matter. Who cares? I think the NBA tries to think that they could do this by letting them build character. But now you're even seeing guys are going to go into the, what's it called? The G League?
The G League.
The D League or the G League.
Wow.
And I see what Carl's saying. They're moving away from the one and done. No, they're not, because a lot of these players are deciding they're better off going to play 1 year of college basketball because they don't want to play in the D League. Even if they're going to get paid $500,000 or $200,000, they would rather go and play college basketball because they don't want to play that 1 year of D League. Some players are still going overseas for the 1 year because they're making a couple of $1 million. They believe that they deserve $1 million or $2 million. These guys aren't making that in the D League or the G League.
Right. And
so
the other thing too, Carl, that players are going to develop in certain ways too and rise to the occasion. Obviously, there's going to be those can't miss high school recruits that are going to go into the NBA right away, like we saw with LeBron James and Kevin Garnett and guys like that. Kobe Bryant. Right. There's going to be those can't-miss guys, but it's not going to be every prospect imaginable. And we've seen, especially lately, a lot of these, with the exception maybe of the 2019 draft, a lot of these top picks have had trouble developing as fast as we thought they would. It's not as instant as it used to be. Carl says Andy Katzenmoyer failed basket weaving and sports appreciation at Ohio State back in the day. Yeah, sounds about right. But yeah, the classes thing is always going to be a wild card as it is. We've interviewed a lot of recruits that say that they like what they're doing with their classes, the business schools and stuff like that. So that's always going to be a wild card with certain players who they're going to be great players, and a lot of them and a lot of these recruits, yeah, maybe they don't have that kind of path because they're aiming right for it. But a lot of the football players who recruit say this is going to be a good backup plan too. We want to learn this past the NFL game because careers can be short in the NFL, especially, and in the NBA with injuries too. So that's going to always be a different wild card with depending on the school and dependent on the player too, no matter what. But it is funny you brought it up, Josh. A lot of these random classes they're taking. I think
that's
2010 Kentucky, the DeMarcus Cousins, John Wall, like barely had like the minimum GPA. I think it was 2.02. The team.
Like, what are they possibly like? What class are they really taking? But other than that, aren't they? I think it's after this year they're letting the high school kids just go. Aren't they getting rid of the ones that I believe after this year? They're letting the high school kids go to the draft now. They're giving them the option. That's also why I think teams like the Knicks and the Rockets and the Thunder have all stocked up on these draft picks because all these high school kids are now going to come out. They feel like that's why they're probably doing it. But it's to the standpoint of, like I said, I think it just comes back to the whole, okay, these kids are coming from a certain neighborhood. Maybe if we bring them to Duke and let them play under Coach K for a year, it's going to help them with their character building, and it's going to make them a better person when they get to the NBA, and it makes them more humble learning under that tutelage. I don't know how much it works. Some thinks the earth is flat, so I mean.
what bothers me is that these players should be getting paid. A lot of these college players should be making some kind of money. I understand that they're getting a college education. A lot of these players are not going to the college to get the college education. Ask Derrick Rose, where he was getting answers and getting test grades, and we've seen this not only from Memphis, we heard it from Kentucky, we heard it from Arizona, people cheating on tests and schools trying to help these kids get through the classes because they just want their talents to play and try to win a national championship for them because there's more money for their schools.
Speaking of which, goodbye Sean Miller.
I just think that, to me, when you look at in college sports, if these college players are that damn good, you should be paying them. They should find a way, because honestly, after they go into the NBA draft or after they go into the NFL draft, their college education is their contract as their 4-year degree or their 4-year scholarships are gone. They can't use it anymore. It's gone. It's thrown out. If they don't graduate, they don't use it, it doesn't mean anything. So to me, these players should be offered something, somehow getting benefited from the jerseys being sold or autographed jerseys being sold. Something of that magnitude. These players should be making some kind of money because they're not getting anything out of the college if they're going there for 1 year or even 2 years. You talk about the quarterbacks, and we talk about the Patrick Mahomes, the Aaron Rodgers of the world, even the Drew Breeses. That's the problem right now. And that's where, when you look at the big picture and you look at where the NBA is and what these college players should be making, if you want these guys to come to your school and you know they're a one-and-done player, you pay them. If you know they're using the college for the education, then you give them the college education, the full college education, even if they decide in 2 years they want to go to the NBA, that if they want to go back to that college, that you're going to honor that degree. That's what I think.
Carl says the option is a $500,000 salary right now in the G League or college, obviously right away. Yeah, and that's the dilemma a lot of these athletes are going to have if they're right on the borderline. Obviously, the top players are going to go in right away. They're going to go in the draft, and if they're confident in the G League, they're going to go in right away. But there's always the dilemma with the certain lower 5-star recruits or 4-star recruits to be able to do that. Because like Josh was saying, you might want to learn under a Coach K or a John Calipari that have helped to develop these players well for the NBA. Look at the Knicks mix now with all the Kentucky players they have, all the Kentucky players that have been talented in the NBA, stuff like that. There's going to be their flops here and there, but there's also going to be the flops in the G League going both ways. Now, again, the dilemma of the college athletes getting paid is something that is going to be addressed now with individual states. We're here in California, Pennsylvania have definitely made progress in terms of doing that. It's going to happen at some point, especially with the way athlete branding is. That seems like the trajectory it's on. Now, the question is the whole governing body of the NCAA, because it's not just separate basketball entity, separate football entity, baseball, etc. So will they be able to compensate for all that where they're not going to be sued by other sports, other schools, and that? Carl, actually, yeah, that's a really good point, Carl. Transfer portal is the same thing, though. Classes don't mean much, though. I actually was thinking about that earlier. The transfer portal also being very instant, and we've asked a lot of the college coaches that, too, is also going to make a big difference, too, in terms of getting players to different schools and having them succeed. And that's what we were saying before with athlete manipulation, too. These players are getting more powerful, just like in college sports, too. Look at what the Pac-12 did and with their football players and several basketball players this year, branding. That's going to make a big difference. And, yes, you brought up a good point with the transfer portal. These players are having a lot more freedom now, too.
And, by the way, Sorokin shut down in the penalty shootout the Philadelphia Flyers and win 1-0 in the shootout. Shut 5 penalty shooters down. So Sorokin wins again. Great game. And slowly but surely, this kid is becoming more confident and ready to go and possibly win a championship for the New York Islanders. The Islanders, with that trade, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. We talked about it a little bit throughout the show yesterday at the end of the show. We will talk about the Zajac and Palmieri trade to the New York Islanders for a first-round draft pick this coming year, and I think a player. So we will talk to that. We'll talk about that a little bit later. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into some NFL conversation. We were talking about the draft and why I think the cornerback position in this year's draft is so very important moving forward, and I'll tell you why when we come back here on the Sports Loudmouths.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouths.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Sports Loudmouths. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Mr. Speedy Petey, a.k.a. Tidy Whitey himself, and Little J, Joshua Silverberg. Remember, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. You could also call us at 631-500-0548. Go to our website, go to our app, iOS, which is WWSRN, or Android Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Carl says, are you guys into the Masters? Yes. And we will talk about the Masters. It is the first round of the Masters today. There's nothing that big right now. Tiger Woods is not going to be playing in the Masters anytime soon. I don't think Tiger Woods is ever going to play golf again. But we will get into the Masters at the end of the show because as the Masters keeps going, round after round, I will start talking about it more next week on Wednesday. We'll talk about the winner and we'll talk about the round after round because to me, in the first round, who's leading right now? What really stands out right now in the Masters? I mean, I'm looking at it right now. Who is it? Vander, who is this? Who's winning?
Rose is leading it.
Rose, then Harman, and then Matsuyama. Okay, so those are Matsuyama. So I don't know. None of them are big names except Rose. There's really no big.
Matsuyama's a pretty big name in golf. He is pretty big. He's won a few majors. He's pretty big.
Is he?
I watch golf.
Is he Dustin Johnson? Is he Dustin Johnson? Is he any of those guys? I'm talking about the big names, the names that everybody wants to talk about.
But he's still a pretty big enough name.
That's fine, but he's not a big. He's not what I'm saying. He's not an American. He's not any big. Even Harman. Harman is not a big American. He's not one of the top American golfers right now where we can brag about. Look at Johnson. He's in first or second or third. So let's wait until the rounds go a little bit further and we see some of these players, or the cream always rises to the top, and then we'll talk about what's going on in the Masters. There's nothing really to talk about. Do you want to talk about the Masters? If you're such a golf fan, what has stood out to you so far in round number one?
Well, I mean, it's not a surprise. I mean, look, Justin Rose to me is one of the favorites in this whole thing. I'm a little surprised at how Spieth has been. I thought Spieth would have stood out a little bit more. He's going to make the cut. I'm not worried about Jordan Spieth.
Spieth look like crap in practically every big tournament in the last 2 years. That's always been the problem
with him. He wins the minor tournaments. He can't ever win the major ones. That's always been his flaw. But look, Rose is one of the big names out there. We know that. Of course, you hear the other names, McElroy and all these guys, and they're just flopped at this
They're
point.
not even in the top of the leaderboard. So what is?
They're not going to make the cut.
So honestly, is it a story right now, or what's going on? No, the answer is no.
No, it usually becomes a story. I would say probably later on
Saturday and Sunday.
The final round happens on Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday, and there's nothing that stood out to me in round number 1 that really impresses me. Why? Because Rose is in first place. Good for him. He could fall out. If it starts to rain. We've seen players when it starts to rain on the field on the greens. They're not the same player. Let's wait until Saturday, and then we can start talking about it. Well, our show won't be till Wednesday, so we will really get into what happened in the Masters on Wednesday. But I want to get into the draft coverage, and the draft is about 2.5 weeks away, and everybody is talking about certain positions, the certain positions in need for a lot of teams. And the cornerback position, being that over the last couple of years, last year was a wide receiver draft. You see 14 or 15 wide receivers drafted in the first 2 rounds, which is the first time ever. And we talk about the cornerback position, and we haven't seen a lot of shutdown corners coming out of the draft in a very long time. Now, the last shutdown corner to come out of the draft was really Jalen Ramsey. Okay, there really hasn't. Even last year, was there a shutdown corner that came out of the draft last year?
Not last year.
No. So we're going into this year, and we've talked about some people, Furley being one of them. There are a couple of players that really stand out. Speedy, give me some of the top names right now of corners that are going into the draft.
So like I said, my favorite, J.C. Horn, is the physical guy out of South Carolina. We mentioned Surtain a lot with the Beeve. Josh mentioned Northwestern's corner. I'm trying to pull up his name. Tyson Campbell, another one from Georgia. Yeah, from Georgia. A lot of these guys.
Even
Greg Newsome. Yep. Asante Samuel. Yeah. Greg Newsome out of Northwestern, 6'1", 190.
He's my favorite, actually.
You think he's going to be the best in the draft, or just?
I do. I think he's the most physical one out of all of them. And if you watch how he actually, if you watch
which
him go off
one?
the main coverage and he bumps his hips.
Which one, Josh? I'm asking you which one. Instead of talking, just tell me which one. Repeat yourself.
I said the Northwestern kid.
Who was that?
Greg Newsome.
Okay, Newsome. Who everybody says that the Jets would be interested in if he falls to the 23rd pick.
Mm-hmm. Another one that's kind of slid off draft boards because of the way he played in the college football playoff was Shaun Wade. Errol was absolutely roasting him during the national championship game. I remember that.
He stunk.
Yeah. I like the kid from Stanford, Adebo, too. Very underrated guy. A good David Shaw defense. Good physical guy for his size. He's only 6'1", 190, but long arms. And he's another guy that maybe if the Jets in the second round, if they don't take a corner in the first round, maybe they take a tackle instead. That could be somebody they could go after. Because it is a deep enough draft, and it's kind of that similar level. You have the definitive 3, and then Newsome. I know you have him higher, Josh. He could be probably a first round pick too, and then a lot of those second round values are going to be good guys for number 1 type corners, lower and number 1 type corners, because they have either length or they have good upside, especially the 2 Georgia corners too, who are kind of inexperienced with a lot of the guys that they've played with, and that they broke out this year when the offense was terrible.
I think the cornerback position is a very important position coming into this draft, especially when we talk about the wide receiver and all the wide receivers were drafted last year. There are no top-end really shutdown corners in the league except maybe 3 or 4 of them. And we've seen a lot of wide receivers really feast with the NFL and the way the NFL rules have changed. They have feasted over the last couple of years because of the change of rules, and really it's worked out for the wide receiver and the quarterback and even some of the running backs that are in the league now. So I think going into this year's draft, and you were talking about, Speedy, the last couple of days, talking about the cornerback position, and a lot of people saying that it's not just the Jets that are looking for a number 1 corner. We talk about the Cowboys. We're talking about the Bengals. There are teams out there that are looking for these shutdown corners that there's just no availability. And we talk about Peterson. We talk about Richard Sherman that are still available. These guys are old-timers. These guys, even though in our age or my age, they're still young guys. I mean, Richard Sherman's, 34 years old, 33?
Yeah.
That would be young when it comes to me because I'm 4 years older than him. But in NFL terms, he's an old man. So, again, when you're looking at the corner position and we're looking at some of these wide receivers that have been drafted over the last couple of years, the Jeffersons of the world, the CeeDee Lambs of the world, and now you're seeing the new crop in the Smiths and the Chases and even the Pitts, you need those corners, that shut down corners, those slot corners, which it's just been poorly developed in the college rankings. And I think that looking at this year's draft, and everybody keeps talking about the corner position, and there are quite a few corners that could be shut down corners coming out of this draft. I think it really stands out to me. I think that you look at some of these teams, and I'm talking about, I would say 15 or 16 of these teams in the NFL that are still looking for a number one shutdown corner. Now, I'm not saying there's 15, 16 corners in this year's draft that are shut down, but I would say 3 or 4 of them, maybe even 5 of them that are coming out of this year's draft. So to get a shutdown corner in the draft is just as important as finding a quarterback / an offensive tackle, left tackle in the draft, because these are the guys that get paid a lot of money.
Yeah, the offensive schemes, too, are really making a difference in terms of why these corners have been valued a lot more. We talk about pass rushers being really the biggest defensive players that go early in the drafts, but the corners, too, recently have gone early. Jalen Ramsey was considered, including by myself, the number one prospect in that draft in terms of everything he could do.
And he wasn't. I mean, there were a lot of great players out of that draft.
I mean, yeah, but again, finding a corner with that kind of skill set, that rare skill set that Ramsey has with the physicality, the speed for his size, everything is really hard to find. Now, again, this draft might have that. I don't think any of them will be Ramsey, but you could definitely find those kinds of shutdown corners. And length is definitely something that's being prioritized, which is why I like Horn the most out of all the corners. But it's also prioritized a lot more because, like Errol was saying, the skill of the receivers are being that good, too.
No, and the rule changes. The rule changes work for the receivers. So you need those shutdown corners, those lengthy, speed demon corners that can actually stop or shutter or even how could they say? What's the best word? Shadow these top end wide receivers, these speed demons on the outside.
And that's why, as a result, you're seeing safeties fall in drafts now. You're seeing linebackers fall in drafts now because teams are prioritizing what stops the passing league, pass rushers and corners the most. Even interior defensive linemen are going up in the draft now because of that. It's a passing league. They're trying to develop it, and spacing is everything. And with these receivers, and then you're seeing smaller receivers now also develop more fast too with these creative offenses. So they're countering them with these smaller slot corner types. Now, there are teams that draft too many of those guys, like the Raiders do. It seems like every player they have is a hybrid nickel type guy, but you still need those types of guys too against these quicker slot receivers.
And you look at this draft, and I'm looking at the draft class right now. Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, Joey Bosa, Ezekiel Elliott, Jalen Ramsey. What are you laughing at? Because I mentioned Ezekiel Elliott. You're an idiot. Ronnie Stanley, DeForest Buckner, Lermy Tunsil, Keanu Neal, Ryan Kelly, Kenny Clark. I'm just giving you the big names that I see. Xavier Howard, who's turned out to be a very good shutdown corner. Derrick Henry, Michael Thomas. I mean, this was a very good draft. Quality
Darren
draft.
Lee wasn't a big player?
I'm sorry?
You mean Darren Lee wasn't a big player?
No, definitely not. But
don't worry, neither was Eli Apple.
I'm just saying that this class, was Jalen Ramsey the best player in this class? Probably not. I mean, if you really look from top to bottom, there are quite a few players that really stick out, not just Jalen Ramsey. Was he the best corner in this draft?
Yes.
You can argue that he isn't. I mean, especially what Howard has done the last couple of years.
Yeah, but Howard's only done it for more, I think, 3 year window, whereas Ramsey's done it his whole career.
That's fine, but Ramsey, I would say in the 3 years that he has been dominating in Howard, I didn't realize how dominant he is.
You said last year he was overrated.
Yeah, he was. But you want to know something? After I see, you could say whatever I said last year. I'm talking about this year and what I saw with the numbers this year, the 10 interceptions that he had this year, where there are players that don't have more than 19 interceptions their whole career. This guy's got 20-something. Okay, so when you look at the big picture right now, I think Howard is just as good or even better than Jalen Ramsey because of his ball hawking skills and what he has done for Miami and solidified that corner position. So say whatever you want, Speedy, on trying to correct what I said.
Those same ball skills
you're also a person that 2 years ago said that the Redskins defense is going to be one of the best in the league when they were one of the worst. So don't get me started on what I say because I can go into what you say, which is absolutely outlandish and ridiculous.
Okay, I'm just saying that, one, Ramsey still possesses those ball skills. If he didn't have those ball skills...
And what has Ramsey done? I mean, he's been on a great defensive team with arguably the best defensive player in the league, and they still can't get over the hump. They still can't go to a championship, and I don't want to hear it. Defense wins championships. So as good as Jalen Ramsey is, I think Howard in the last 2 years has way better numbers than Jalen Ramsey. And Jalen Ramsey's been in the league for 4 years. If you're going to tell me that Jalen Ramsey did better in 2 years over what Howard has done in the same amount of time, I'm going to take Howard. His numbers are better than Jalen Ramsey's.
Howard had the better year this year for sure. I'm not going to deny that. I agree with you. He should have won Defensive Player of the Year. I think he was robbed. But again, the whole track record of their whole career.
Go to the numbers. Go to the numbers and compare their numbers.
2019, he was good. Number one type corner.
I just want to know what his numbers, his full out numbers. Where is Howard? What was his numbers?
But again, the numbers for
don't care. I want to hear what his numbers is in his career.
Okay, I'm going to just say this though: numbers for a corner can be deceiving because.
Oh well, I want to hear the numbers. How many interceptions?
Shutdown corners are not thrown at as often.
And he's
22 interceptions. He had 7 in 2018, and like I said, 2019 he was a little more down. But again, he was in more of that shutdown role. 1 interception. 2017 he had 4. So
and now go to Jalen Ramsey and go to look at his numbers.
Jalen Ramsey, I know never.
Stop making excuses. Just give me the damn numbers.
Can you admit though it's a deceiving stat?
I don't care if it's deceiving. I'm trying to compare and contrast numbers from the guys. They've only been in the league for what, 5 years?
Okay, he has 11. He has 11 interceptions for a guy that's not thrown at as often because he's that good in coverage.
And they're not throwing at Howard either. And when they do, they get crumped. Okay?
I'll admit that, but also you got to remember too, Miami this season also.
Why do you always find an excuse? Why is always? I should call this segment Speedy's excuses.
Can you admit though that some numbers are deceiving in the sense of a corner? Tayshaun Gibson.
What is so deceiving of 22 interceptions to 11? What is the deceiving
because one
number?
guy's thrown at more often.
Why? Well, those teams are idiots. How's that sound?
Okay,
they're idiots.
So that feeds into it. All right. You all right, fine. Who says Xavier Howard didn't feed off of the New York Jets' terrible Adam Gase?
First of all, he had 1 interception against the Jets this past year.
Okay.
1 interception. Okay? That's not a lot. And if you look at his numbers, and I'm trying to compare and contrast his numbers to how many games has he played so far? Jalen Ramsey. How many games did he play in his career so far?
75.
Okay, and Howard has played 56. Okay. So he's played less games and has almost 11 more interceptions than Jalen Ramsey. Okay? All right, so
but why did Ramsey play right away then and Howard didn't?
How many touchdowns does Jalen Ramsey have in his career?
1. Okay,
and same thing with Howard. If you really look at their numbers and you compare and contrast both players, I'm sorry, I'm taking Howard over Jalen Ramsey. His numbers are better. And to me, he's more of the shutdown guy than Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey.
Now why is he thrown at more?
What do you mean he's thrown out more? If you look at it, go look at the numbers of thrown out. How much more is he getting thrown out?
Howard was thrown at a lot more in the beginning of his career than Ramsey. Ramsey was barely thrown.
Okay, and go look at most of his interceptions came this year. Most of his interceptions came this year. So what does that tell you, Speedy?
That means
what does that tell you?
That means he's still getting attacked, not to the same way Ramsey is.
All right, so what did Ramsey get attacked this year? Let's go to his attack role.
He had 1 interception because he was never.
What is his attack? If you look at the numbers, how many times was he thrown to? How many times was Jalen Ramsey?
He had 9 passes deflected and 1 interception, and I'm trying to see catches allowed. They don't show catches allowed here. But Ramsey was barely thrown at in comparison to Howard because Howard also, granted, Ramsey at the beginning of his career, so this will kind of
Stop making excuses because that's not Xavier Howard's fault.
I'm not saying it is Xavier Howard's fault.
Xavier Howard has better numbers. To me, I'm taking him. I'm taking the guy that it shows on numbers. It shows right on when it comes to analytics, and we're trying to compare and contrast analytics to a player of choice. I'm taking Xavier Howard over Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey, I don't want to hear about Super Bowls. This guy can't even get over the hump. He opens his mouth. How many times do you hear Xavier Howard open his mouth? Never. He never opens his mouth. You never hear anything come out of that guy's mouth. But Jalen Ramsey, he's taking shots at guys like Allen, who was in GQ, and he had to attack Josh Allen. Meanwhile, Josh Allen was a top 5 quarterback in the league. You don't hear Jalen Ramsey talking about it
more than anything.
No,
else.
It wasn't. It was him taking a shot at Josh Allen because he thought Josh Allen was overrated. He was terrible.
Right, but he said Andrew Luck was fine, who's a division rival. So that was a whole weird theory. Now,
why was it weird? Andrew Luck was one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Okay, but I'm just saying that was a very fluky
you can't
thing.
Make an
excuse. It wasn't an accurate depiction of what
you're always
there.
Trying to find and make an excuse with something, and there's no excuse to this. If you're trying to compare and contrast both of their numbers, I'm sorry, I'm taking Xavier Howard over Jalen Ramsey. He's got better numbers, way better numbers, and he's played 20 less games. 20 less
because
games.
He didn't start in the beginning of his career because he was still not great.
Okay, so
Ramsey was a raw, great prospect that was very good for all 5 years he played. Howard emerged the last 3 years. He's been very good. He's a top
better.
10 corner.
He's better than
Jalen
Jalen Ramsey. He's better than
Jalen Ramsey hasn't had a bad year. He had one bad stretch when he came to the Rams.
And what has he done? You're talking about a guy that's almost won Defensive Player of the Year. Did Jalen Ramsey even come close to winning Defensive Player of the Year?
Yes, plenty of times.
No, he didn't.
They don't give the award to a corner.
No, that's a crock of you-know-what.
I agree.
No, Charles Woodson won. Revis should have won that year, too.
Revis got screwed, too. Plenty of times.
He got screwed because they gave it to Charles Woodson. Okay, so don't give me.
He got screwed in some other instances.
Stop making excuses, okay? It's a crock, okay? And
what excuse have I made?
You're making an excuse
outside
right
he was never gotten thrown at, which is every shutdown
Xavier
corner. Revis never got thrown at either.
Xavier Howard is a better player than Jalen Ramsey. You can see it by the numbers. The least amount of games that they've played in the NFL. I don't care if he was a raw talent and it took him a while to get as a starter. I don't want to hear it because that just proves my point right there. Does it not, Josh? If he's played in less games and he's got better numbers, and being that he's played 20 less games and he's got double the amount of interceptions in the league, and to me, he should have won Defensive Player of the Year. Don't you think Xavier Howard, when it comes to numbers, is a better player than Jalen Ramsey?
I would say yes, statistically and the numbers wise, absolutely. I would have to agree with Errol on this one. I understand where Petey's getting at because he isn't thrown to as much, but at the same time, listen, if the guy's thrown to every time and the guy's making the play every single time, which Howard seems to be doing that all the time, then the numbers show it. And that clearly shows that he is probably a better quarterback. And like Errol said, he's quiet. That's a big thing. You want quiet guys. Jalen Ramsey's always causing a stir with something. He always is. He's got a big mouth on him.
But what does that have to do with the talent of the player?
Xavier and Howard.
Thing, man. I mean, it's about a character thing, too. Like, even like, I don't know, like, think of Darrelle Revis. Darrelle Revis was
talking, by the way, Carl, I'm talking about Xavier. I might have said Xavier, but I meant by Xavier. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. Carl, I don't know why you have to try to correct me.
Yeah, I mean, those are marked.
I know a lot of people like to correct me, but everybody knows what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Miami corner, the young prospect, the guy that's been in the league for 5 years. He's 25 years old. Xavier Howard is the guy I'm talking about.
I mean, like, you look at it, too. Like, even like, okay, like Darrelle Revis, when you look back at his numbers, does he have the interception total? No, but he still has the numbers. The thing is, he didn't get thrown to as much. I understand. That's the part where I understand where Petey is coming from.
Right. Terrence Newman has more career interceptions than Darrelle Revis. Does that make Terrence Newman a better all-time corner? No.
Speedy, you're not going to make it an excuse.
But the thing is, though, is that I also agree with Errol on the standpoint of when the guy does get the ball thrown at him, he makes the play.
How old is Ramsey?
27.
And how old is Howard?
26.
Same
draft.
So they're actually, no, Howard is 27 too.
Oh,
they're both the same age. They're both 27. Nobody's older than Jalen Ramsey, when's his birthday? Just go to his birthday. Just go to the thing on the top and go to his birthday. That's what I want to know, because he's saying that Howard is older. Howard is not older.
October 24th, 1994.
So Howard is 4 months or 5 months older. Okay, so
when was he picked in the draft?
I'm sorry?
When was Howard picked in the draft?
Fifth round.
And he was a 5th round draft pick.
5th round draft pick. That's pretty damn good for a guy compared to a 1st round top 10 pick. I'm just saying.
I'm sorry. I'm taking Xavier Howard. I think Xavier Howard's the better player. And as good as Jalen Ramsey has been in the league, the guy doesn't shut his mouth. He has something always to say.
And I'm not saying hold it against him as a talent.
Oh, absolutely does.
Look, we can
absolutely
both
does. Is Xavier Howard making as much money as Jalen Ramsey is? Was Jalen Ramsey have you heard anything with Xavier Howard trying to run himself out of the team that he was playing for, like Ramsey was? The answer is no, Speedy. Don't make an excuse.
Were the Dolphins ever at that much of a low as the Jaguars?
Speedy, this is the problem with you. You're always trying to make an excuse because you want to prove that you're right. You're wrong on this. You're wrong on this.
Answer the question. Were the Dolphins ever as badly dysfunctional as the Jaguars?
Absolutely. They had Adam Gase. What are you talking about?
And Xavier Howard barely played when Adam Gase was there.
Exactly. You're telling me were they not dysfunctional?
He's not going to have leverage at that point to force a trade. If he was playing for him now, that's different.
Adam Gase was there for almost 3 years. You're making an excuse again.
Xavier Howard
I just told you.
2016.
I just told you. Shut up and let me speak for a second, because you're trying to talk over me. You told me there was no dysfunction dysfunction at all from the Miami team when Adam Gase was there. Adam Gase is one of the most dysfunctional coaches we've ever seen in NFL history. So now when I gave you Adam Gase, you make an excuse. Well, that's why he wasn't playing.
They were a playoff team with Adam Gase the first year.
They were a playoff team. You're always making an excuse.
And
You're always trying to find
Jacksonville was
something.
3-13. They had the biggest fall from grace ever. How many other players wanted out from Jacksonville?
Speedy, again, he's the one who ran himself out, and that's why he's getting paid $100 million, and he's been yapping his mouth. He's done nothing in the NFL, and Xavier Howard, who's played in less games, 20 less games, has better numbers than Jalen Ramsey. So no matter what you say, or how much you're sitting here and arguing your points and trying to flip it and flop it whatever way you want, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong.
Yannick Ngakoue wanted out. Leonard Fournette wanted out. It's a
dysfunctional
problem with the Jaguars.
What has Ngakoue done since he's been run out? What has he done, Big Mouth?
Okay.
What has he done?
Does that matter?
Yes, it does.
Does that matter?
What has he done?
My point.
Answer my question.
I don't care what he's done.
Nothing. That's the answer.
Okay.
Nothing.
Why does that matter with the Jaguars?
Give me another one.
That doesn't matter.
Give me another one.
Leonard Fournette. He won a Super Bowl and was a great player. You even admitted it.
Leonard Fournette. I admitted that he played well in the playoffs.
Yes, you did.
He's not a good player, and he's not a good player. He's not a good player because what we've seen, Jacksonville ran him out of there, and Jacksonville ran him out of there because they knew he couldn't stay healthy. The guy couldn't stay healthy. So don't give me your crap, and every single thing that you bring up, you find a way to brush it under the rug and make excuses. Xavier Howard is a better cornerback, a way better quarterback than Jalen Ramsey. He ran himself out of there. He got $100 million. Is Xavier Howard making $100 million? Yes or no?
Yes, he is.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
No, he's making $100 million.
He's right behind Gilmore's
Is
contract.
he making $100 million?
Yes, he's right behind Gilmore's
All
contract.
right, let's go. Go find a contract. Bring up the contract.
Let me ask you a question.
Bring up the contract.
Let me ask you a question. If Xavier Howard was in the Jaguars' dysfunction, or if Xavier Howard was in the Adam Gase dysfunction when he was with the Jets, you don't think he would have asked for him wanting out?
No, because he had a dysfunctional team right now with Adam Gase, and he had a dysfunctional team before Brian Flores was there.
Did you want the Gilmore contract?
I'm looking at Xavier Howard's contract because I want to see.
Because I have the Gilmore
$75 million contract. He doesn't have $100 million. What are you talking about? Again, you talk out of your ass. Everything comes out of your ass. You're always trying to find an excuse. There is no excuse to this. He was a better player.
Can you admit those interceptions are deceiving stats?
It doesn't matter. Howard is a better player. He is a better player who gets paid less money on a team that had dysfunction. This is what I'm talking about, Speedy. You can go back and forth and talk about Jalen Ramsey, how great Jalen Ramsey has done. He has never won Defensive Player of the Year. He's never won anything. Every time that great Jacksonville team, as good as the shutdown corner that he is, and the great shutdown corner that he had on the other side, what did he do? What did they do? They did nothing. They didn't win anything. They didn't go to a Super Bowl.
They had Blake Bortles at quarterback.
So there's another excuse. Making another excuse. Here's the thing, Speedy. I have seen bad quarterbacks, go to the Super Bowl and win. I have seen it. We're talking about one of the great.
So don't blame the individual, though.
No, I'm blaming for what
the great Errol Marks quote: "Football is a team game."
That's right.
So don't blame one player for the loss.
And I just proved you wrong in 6 different things, and you're just trying to find a way to move around it. I told you that he gets paid less money. He's getting paid almost $30 million less than Jalen Ramsey is. Okay, Jalen Ramsey doesn't have the numbers that this guy has, and he is a better player than your goddamn Jalen Ramsey. Okay, I'm done with talking to you about this because it's stupid and it's ridiculous to say that this guy isn't a better corner than Jalen Ramsey is. Jalen Ramsey hasn't won anything. He hasn't done anything. He opens his mouth. He's gone somewhere else. He's making hundreds of millions of dollars, and the guy has done nothing. Nothing but open his big fat mouth. And Xavier, whatever his name is, Xavier Howard, this guy played for Adam Gase. I don't care how many games he played with Adam Gase. That was a dysfunctional organization.
So was Patrick Peterson a better corner than Richard Sherman in his peak because he didn't speak?
Patrick Peterson and who?
Richard Sherman. Because Richard Sherman was a yappy loudmouth, and Patrick Peterson wasn't.
Peterson made more money than Richard Sherman did.
But at Richard Sherman's first 3-year peak, because I think Peterson was at certain points better corner, was Patrick Peterson every year a better corner because Richard Sherman ran his mouth.
And by the way, Carl, you saying Xavier Howard never went to the playoffs. Here's my answer to that. Xavier Howard now is on this team. The Dolphins they're now an up and coming team. They had to bring in a new coach. It takes a while. Brian Flores has only been there for 2 years. He took on Adam Gase's crappy roster and rebuilt this roster. So to say that he has never made it to the playoffs, he played for Adam Gase. How many times do I have to tell you guys? We talk about how stupid and how terrible Adam Gase is. Everybody makes fun of Cook look-wise. I don't care how many games he's played for Adam Gase. The fact is, the most dysfunctional guy in NFL history was running your organization, which built that organization for the 3 or 4 years that he was there. I don't want to hear it anymore because there are more dysfunction that I've seen from the Miami Dolphins in the last 12, 13 years than the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yes, the 12, 13 years, not the years of both their careers.
We're talking about Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard.
Yes, 2016 on, Jacksonville's been more dysfunctional than Miami, though, in terms of all these players leaving. The Dolphins have just had a guy that was executive of the year. Jacksonville's guy's not even close. He got fired. So clearly there's a big difference there in terms of the way the roster's constructed. And yes, Adam Gase was a terrible coach, but so was Gus Bradley at the beginning of Ramsey's career.
And again, I'm going to say it. If you look at the numbers, and I don't care what you say, when you look at the money that they're getting paid, we've seen all the dysfunctional stuff that's come out of Jalen Ramsey's mouth, throwing people under the bus because he thinks he's that much better than everybody else. Here's my answer to you, Speedy. I am taking the guy that's getting paid less money, that shows up on the field, doesn't open his mouth, and plays better. That's who I'm going to. I'm going to Xavier Howard over Jalen Ramsey. And anybody that's going to argue with me on that, when you can look at the numbers and look at the money that is going to get paid, you don't know what you're talking about, and you need to shove your head up Speedy's ass.
But again, I'm not saying he should be paid $25 million more than Howard either, but you're just proving my point with the discrepancy.
Oh, I'm proving your point.
Miami got a good bargain in comparison to what Jacksonville paid.
No, I'm proving that
Ramsey.
you're wrong. I'm proving that you take things out of your ass and you say whatever you want. You want to flip-flop it on different ways to try to compare and contrast of what I've said in the past.
You just said he got paid $25 million.
You told me he got paid $100 million. Did you not?
Regardless.
Did you not?
Okay.
Did you not? Yes or no? Did you say that?
Okay, whatever.
Did you say that?
Whatever.
No, whatever. Did you say
yes,
it?
okay.
Yes
fine.
or no?
Yes,
okay.
fine.
So it comes out of his mouth. He actually knows what yes
so
is.
Miami got a bargain for Howard. You're proving my point on the...
I'm proving your point? I'm proving your point?
On how
I would
you
never,
said the Dolphins
I
are
will never
dysfunctional the
prove
next
your
5
point.
years.
I will never prove your point. I will never prove your point because you prove my point that you have so many dysfunctional attitudes. Your thoughts to certain things, if you think you're right, you're going to find a way to beat around it and try to find a way out of it. There is nothing to find a way out of it. Here's the answer. If I put a survey up right now, for the money that this guy makes and what he has done in the league, they're the same age. I don't want to hear, well, one's older than the other. They're the same damn age, and he's getting paid less. Who would you take, Xavier Howard or Jalen Big Mouth Ramsey? I am going to bet you if anybody knows football, they're going to tell you Xavier Howard. Period. Game over, done, and away. I don't want to argue anymore about it. It's stupid. And Jalen Ramsey is one of the most highly overrated players I've ever seen come out of the draft. Okay? And this guy, I don't care what anybody says. Oh, they don't throw it his way. Well, guess what? Adams did. The Green Bay Packers did. The Green Bay Packers, why did the LA Rams get knocked out in the playoffs this year? Because they couldn't handle, yes, your great Jalen Ramsey couldn't stop an easy toss on one side of the ball to the other.
Oh, he's not allowed to miss one play. Oh, God forbid.
You're getting paid $100 million, Speedy. $100 million, and he's overpaid. He's the highest paid corner in the league, and he can't stop a guy that he says he's way better than.
So Patrick Mahomes got $400-something million, and he's not allowed, God forbid, he throws one bad interception. He's not allowed to do that. Nobody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect, but you make it seem like Jalen Ramsey is that much better than Xavier Howard, and he's not.
I didn't say $25 million. I said
he's not.
He's
not. If
Jalen Ramsey's number 1, Xavier Howard's number 4 or 5. It's not that far.
Jalen Ramsey is not number 1. He is not the number 1 corner.
All right, who are you going to give it? Tre'Davious White? I'll give you Tre'Davious White. That's probably the only one.
Gilmore. I take Gilmore over him.
Okay.
I take Gilmore over him.
Okay.
I take White over him. I would take Xavier Howard over him. Then I'd put Jalen Ramsey as my 4th guy. Jalen Ramsey is not a top 3 corner in this league. He's a big mouth, overpaid, highly profiled, highly priced player in the NFL. And that's all I'm going to say about it. And we went all over what you want to know something that was good. That was good radio. You know why? Because I can't stand when I sit here and I listen to you tell me these numbers, telling me that this guy is making $100 million when he's not even getting close to that.
Okay, Jacksonville overpaid him from your logic. I get it.
Jacksonville got overpaid him. Oh, and by the way, when he went over to the Rams, they extended his contract and gave him more money. They gave
so
him more money.
He didn't become a free agent. Yeah, that's smart.
Doesn't matter. They gave him more money.
Okay.
You're giving a guy that's already highly overpriced and overpaid.
Yeah, I've never defended the Rams front office either. I've roasted their GM a lot. Carl says Dolphins got roasted by Bills at the end of the year. Yeah.
So Carl, what are you trying to do? You're trying to tell me that because you think and you're saying that the Dolphins got roasted in one game, that because of that one game, Xavier Howard isn't better than Jalen Ramsey? It's a crock of you-know-what. I'm not going to go in and go out on this. Xavier Howard is getting paid less money, has played better in the last 3 years than Jalen Ramsey. He has never opened his mouth. He's never forced his way out of the Dolphins when they had an idiot, a cuckoo eyes over there, and Adam Gase running the organization. They have been a dysfunctional organization, just as bad as the Jacksonville Jaguars. And you said Ramsey got roasted by the Packers. He did get roasted by the Packers. Adams had 60 or 70 yards in a game, and for Jalen Ramsey to open his mouth and say, "Oh, I'm going to shut down Devontae Adams," he didn't shut down anybody. And in the big game, and we've seen him in the big game, even with the Jacksonville Jaguars, he couldn't stop the top wide receiver. And that's why he never went to the Super Bowl. Because if you're a shutdown corner, you have a top. He's been on two very good defenses, top-end defenses, better defenses than Xavier Howard. And you're going to tell me if Xavier Howard was over there, who's to say that Xavier Howard wouldn't have done better and wouldn't have been even better at shutdown corner than a guy like Ramsey? Ramsey's playing on two of the best defenses in the league. Two of the best. Jacksonville was the best defense when he was over there in Jacksonville. And right now, the Rams this year were the number one defense in the league. What does that tell you? If you're a number one defense wins championships, and they couldn't even get over the hump. So I don't want to hear it. They couldn't get over the Green Bay Packers, a Green Bay Packer team that is supposedly beatable, especially in the secondary and the way they throw the ball. Done. Game over. I'm off this topic. Okay, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of making my points and you're trying to beat around the bush. And that's Carl, you should be a tag team because it's always an excuse.
Finally, Carl and I agree on something. It took a year or so. Yeah, must mean Ramsey. Great on D. Good job, Carl.
Must be Ramsey. Great on D. They have Aaron Donald on a team who's arguably the best defensive player in the league. So what are you talking about? Let me ask you this. Is there a player as good as Aaron Donald on the Miami Dolphins? The answer is not even close. Not even close. I guarantee you, besides Howard, there's not a top 10 player, how about this? A top 20 defensive player on the Miami Dolphins last year. And you want to know why? Because Xavier Howard was the best defensive player on that team. And they were a top 15 defense because Xavier Howard, not because of Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey is the second best defensive player on a team to Xavier Howard's number one. So say whatever you want. And you want to know something? If Aaron Donald was on the Miami Dolphins and Miami went with Aaron Donald into the playoffs, they would have went farther than the great and powerful LA Rams, which is highly overrated. And they've been an overrated team. You just said what?
Jags and Rams top D in league both years Ramsey played for them. You just said Thar. Yeah, nice typo, Carl.
Okay, so hold on 1 second. The Jags and Rams, it wasn't because of Jalen Ramsey, buddy. Even when they were a good Jacksonville. Name the players on that Jacksonville Jaguar team that was great. How about, have we heard about Campbell? He was on a team. He had 13 or 14 sacks on that great defense. Do you want me to go up and down that roster, how good that defense was and that front seven was? Give me a break, Carl. You can't make an excuse and try to find a way to beat around this. He was a part of great defenses. He was one of the reasons why, not the main reason. Xavier Howard, who was on a top 15 defense this year, he was the main reason why we were the top defense. There is not a top 20 defensive player besides Howard on that Dolphin team. Tell me one. Tell me one. Make one up. Give me a name, because there is not one. So there's no excuse to it. There's nothing that you can bring up to tell me that I'm wrong about this. I'm absolutely right about it. So go ahead, go dish, go look at their roster, go find somebody. None of those guys besides Howard is a top 20 player in the league defensively. I guarantee you. I guarantee you. Now, let's get back into the draft, Josh. I know you're shaking your head, but you want to know something? This proves to good radio. And if you're going to argue and you're going to make your
No,
points.
I loved it. I want you to keep going. I was going to get a bag of popcorn and just sit here and
no, there's really nothing else more to talk about. The fact is that
you could find something else. Come on, Speedy.
no,
I
can't stand listening. And listen, Carl's going to find a way to try to beat me in an argument and obviously a debate. Same thing with Speedy. But I don't find excuses on what I say. I try to find answers to what I'm saying. Okay, so the answers of what I'm trying to say is going back and forth, and we're trying to argue which guy is better. They're both the same age, so I don't want to hear that one's older than the other. I don't want to hear. First of all, one guy's was drafted in the 5th round, the other one was a top 5 pick. Okay, and you would expect Jalen Ramsey to be that much better than Xavier Howard. He's not. Okay, numbers show that he's not, and I don't want to hear about the dysfunction of what Jacksonville was. There was dysfunction over there in Miami for how many years with Adam Gase?
Level.
Oh, get out of here. Adam Gase is the most dysfunctional guy in football history. You, Mr. Google man over here, Mr. Googly Eye man who laughs and giggles all the time about how bad Adam Gase is. You're going to tell me that they're not... Tom Coughlin was running that organization until 2 years ago before he got fired. He was running that organization to a championship competitive team. They were one game away from going to the Super Bowl, okay? One game with the top defense in the league. There is no excuse to that. And you're going to tell me they're dysfunctional? They had Tom Coughlin running the organization. Who was running the Miami Dolphins?
A guy that just won Executive of the Year.
Executive of the Year. How long has he been there? How long has he been there?
4 years. Similar to Xavier Howard's track record.
Exactly, that's 4. He brought in Brian Flores, and ever since he brought in Brian Flores has figured out and changed that organization. Before that, who was running the organization?
I forget who the GM was.
Who was running the organization?
They were really badly run. I agree with you on that.
Really badly run or really badly run?
Really badly run,
All
yes.
right, okay.
But that wasn't Xavier Howard's tenure.
It doesn't matter.
If Xavier Howard played in 2013, he would have forced his way out.
No, he wouldn't have. We haven't heard.
And maybe
have you heard Xavier Howard one time speak? Have you?
Because he's been in a steady situation in comparison to Jalen Ramsey with the Jaguars.
So Brian Flores, who's only been there for how many years?
The last 2.
He's been there 2 years, and Adam Gase was there for his first 2 years.
Okay.
So you're telling me that's a steady, non-dysfunctional organization?
In comparison to the fall from grace Jacksonville had.
What a crock of
Gus Bradley was a terrible coach, too.
What a crock of you-know-what, Speedy, because you, of all people, say that Adam Gase is the worst coach in NFL history.
No, you said that.
And you say it, too. You say it, too.
Gus Bradley's in the mix, too. He was awful with all the same talent that Jacksonville had. Mm-hmm. Miles Jack, Yannick Ngakoue. He couldn't coach a lick.
Okay, they couldn't coach a lick. 4 years ago, were they in the Super Bowl? Were they close to winning the Super Bowl?
Not with Gus Bradley.
We're not talking about Gus Bradley.
You're saying Gus Bradley is
4 years
not
ago,
even close to the worst coach of Adam Gase.
4 years ago, idiot.
Doug Marrone,
was coaching the
who's
team?
a good coach.
Doug Marrone. Okay, Doug Marrone.
I'm not arguing Doug Marrone is the worst coach than Adam Gase.
We're not talking about Gus Bradley, you dumb ass. We're talking about in the last 4 years. We're talking about from Adam Gase to what they have with Doug Marrone. Doug Marrone is a better coach than Adam Gase. Yes or no?
Yes
obviously. Or no? Okay. Case closed. Case closed. Dysfunction right there.
But Gus Bradley was a coach for Xavier Howard, too.
No, for how long?
For the first 2 years.
Xavier Howard. So hold on one second. Hold on one second. So we're going to go, and by the way, he was coaching Xavier Howard. Am I right?
Okay.
So Gus Bradley was coaching Xavier Howard.
Right.
Why didn't
Jalen Ramsey?
Jalen Ramsey. Okay, so Jalen Ramsey, first of all, the reason why he wanted out wasn't because of Gus Bradley. Because of Gus Bradley.
It was from the fall from grace that everybody took on that team.
Shut up. Because now I'm gonna really land it. I'm gonna drop the hammer on you because you sound like a complete moron. Okay, so he left for what reason? Why did he want out of Jacksonville? Who was the coach of the Jacksonville?
Right at that point, Doug Marrone.
Is Doug Marrone a good coach?
He's fine.
He's a fine, good coach.
He's okay.
All right. Okay. Adam Gase was there 2 out of the 4 years that the great Xavier Howard was there. Now, is Doug Marrone that much better than Adam Gase?
Yes.
Okay. So now this is really amusing to me. Gus Bradley, who coached how long Jalen Ramsey? How long did he coach?
His first year.
So 1 year. You're going to tell me because of 1 year. You hear this, Josh? Because of 1 year of Gus Bradley, that was the reason why? That's what you're saying?
Front office.
I'll get out of here. Tom Coughlin was running the organization. They were going to the Super Bowl 4 years ago. They were the best defensive team in the league.
And then they had a great fall from grace.
A great fall from grace, and that's why Jalen Ramsey wanted out. Just why Jamal Adams wanted out from the Jets, because he didn't want to play for a losing losing organization. Meanwhile, he's going to a Seattle Seahawks team that wants to get rid of their star quarterback, and they're going to. It's a crock of
Seattle having a bigger. Seattle has just as big of a fall from grace as Jacksonville.
Really, they had one of the best teams. Right now, they going into the NFC last year. They were one of the best teams in the NFC. Yes or no?
Now their quarterback wants out.
That's not my answer. Again, you're going to try to beat around the bush. You just told me that they're a run from grace. How is it a run from grace when they were one of the best teams in the NFL?
Teams can have sudden changes.
Look
at the Browns. They were dysfunctional for years. Now all of a sudden they're good.
To me, you are all over the place. You are trying to find any possible way to prove that you're right, and you're completely wrong.
I was bashing the Dolphins forever, and now they're run well.
Bashing the Dolphins forever. Okay? You're fired. Every single thing that I have been telling you.
Hey, I like that with Vince.
Everything that you have been you've been going around, you're trying to be. First you said Gus Bradley. Gus Bradley had nothing to do with the reason why you wanted out.
Because you said Adam Gase was the big reason Xavier Howard had trouble in the beginning of his career.
Absolutely.
Which Gus Bradley was a bad coach, too.
Absolutely. And Jalen Ramsey, after Gus Bradley, Doug Marrone, and they had the best defense in the league when Doug Marrone took over the team.
Okay.
So, okay. And you're talking about Adam Gase, who was there. Xavier Howard couldn't get a chance to play. He didn't get a chance to play. And then all of a sudden, after Adam Gase was gone and Brian Flores took over, look at the numbers that he has. Xavier Howard is that much better than Jalen Ramsey. He's getting paid less money, and he has better numbers. And you're going to see, by the time they're done with their career, people are going to tell you that Xavier Howard was a better corner than Jalen Ramsey.
But again, the money shouldn't matter either. And
money means a lot.
Okay, so the Dolphins got Howard on a bargain, and the Rams slightly overpaid for Ramsey. That doesn't mean you give him a better corner. You say it all the time. Amari Cooper's not a top 10 receiver. Got paid number 2. So the teams overpay for players. Some organizations are smart, others are not. And that's why Chris Grier on the Dolphins is the executive of the year last year, in addition to many other things. So that doesn't really prove the overall talent of a player just on how much money you're making. Yes, the range is going to be the same, but still that doesn't really make that much of a difference in judging the overall value who you want on your team, because Ramsey still does a lot more as a corner, even though, he doesn't get thrown at as much.
Well, again, with all the thoughts and all the trials and tribulations to the argument, you're still wrong, and there's so many different things that you have said in your argument that you have been trying to beat around. Now I want to get back. Actually, let's go to a quick break. When we come back, we'll get back into the NFL conversation, where we're not getting off with a hot topic of Speedy P trying to find a way to make an excuse for Jalen Ramsey's stupidity. When we come back here on the Sports Loudmouths.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouths.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Sports Loudmouths. I'm your host, Errol Mark, who's losing his voice, and my co-host, Mr. Tidy Whitey and Pain in the Ass, Speedy Petey, and Joshua Silverberg. Remember, you can listen to our show every single Wednesday and Thursday from 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. On Wednesdays, we are going to go on Wednesdays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. And on Thursdays, we're going to do it to 12 a.m. So it'll be 5 hours in 2 days. So definitely stay tuned as we keep providing the best content in radio. Remember, you can also go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. You can call us at 631-500-0548 and download our app on iOS, which is WWSRN, or Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. I do want to get back into some football conversation, completely away from this whole Jalen Ramsey garbage, going back and forth arguments with who's better and who's not better. It's crazy. I mean, you look at the draft and you look at over the years, you're looking for that pass rusher. You're looking for that top end edge rusher from the draft. Last year was Chase Young, and we've seen over the last couple of years some big pass rushers. Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa over the years, some top end, big time defensive linemen coming out of the draft. This year, there's not one big name that really sticks out to me that really blows my mind. I mean, Miami, the Hurricanes have a couple of guys that a lot of people have spoken very highly of. Big, tall, strong, powerful edge rushers. One of them, what's his name again?
Russo,
who's 250 pounds.
I remember Mark was hyping him up when we had him on the show about a month ago. He was saying that he could be like a top 10 player, which I don't see.
He wasn't. He was originally a top 5, top 10 player, but then I think he sit out this year. I believe he sat out this year, and then that dropped him off. Same thing with Persons from Penn State.
Yep.
The linebacker.
The one I like the most is Ojari from Georgia. I think he's got the most moves. I think good, well-rounded moves and good size. Carl says draft is stacked with offensive linemen this year. Yes, that is a big strength, and we've mentioned that a lot in regards to the Jets, where if the Jets want to
linemen and wide receivers.
Yes, if the Jets want to go after the kind of tackle, there's definitely a lot of them. Rashawn Slater, I know, Josh, you've mentioned him as being a guy you liked, probably rising into the top 10 now as a possible draft pick, or maybe something right in the middle of the first round. And you mentioned the kid from Oklahoma State, Jenkins, too. There's plenty of them. Alex Leatherwood, definitely a lot of good tackles in this draft.
And even though Ohio State's got a few of them, too. I mean, I know they got the center that's rising now. I forget his name. They're even saying late first round pick, possibly. Then there's also the interior offensive lineman from Ohio State as well.
Wyatt Davis, yeah.
But as far as like pass rushers go, it's very hit or miss this year. I feel like I know you're also hearing, if I say his name incorrectly, Kwity Paye from Michigan.
I'm a little worried about him because, one, Michigan's track record in the NFL has not been great lately with defensive players, and two, he's a very weird prototype to me that could have been better as a run stopper. So I'm a little worried about him for the NFL level. But as a speed rusher type, he still could be good. I feel like a team could reach on him though too.
I also look at the wide receiving core that's coming out of this draft. A lot of people talk about Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase missed the whole season, decided not to play for LSU because of the COVID-19 situation. He had his pro day. His pro day really stood out, and why a lot of people think he's the most NFL-ready wide receiver coming out of this draft class. And a lot of people believe that in last year's draft class, if he was in the draft, he would have been the number one wide receiver being drafted. But you look at guys like Devontae Smith, who was the Heisman Trophy winner. He was the best all-around talent throughout college football in a short season this year. And Pitt and some of the other wide receivers that a lot of people are talking about. You're talking about some of these guys, some of the slot receivers that are coming out of this draft class. Some people say could be top wide receivers if it wasn't this draft class. So your guys' thoughts on the wide receiving core and what really sticks out to you in the last couple of years to these wide receivers that have come out big and strong and very talented, athletic wide receivers that have come out of the draft.
Completely agree on Chase. I think Chase would have been the number one guy last year too because he's fast for his size, as he proved. Ran a 4.38, great route runner too, intermediate routes and good with contested catches. His only concern, obviously, has been injuries. Carl, before we do that, Carl also said a couple of things. Rashawn Gary's just getting into his own on the Packers, and he is better than Paye. Yes, absolutely. Paye is overrated. Yeah, saying the same thing I did. And Leatherwood would probably move to guard. I don't think so. He's still got good footwork for a tackle. Devontae Smith, I don't know if he would have came out last year where he would have been drafted because him and Judy probably
he was a first-round draft pick.
Yeah, he would have probably been a first-round draft pick because Judy was the number one guy when he was there. But if Devontae Smith didn't have that kind of season, though, where he emerged himself right into that. And
a lot of people say that Devontae Smith was the best wide receiver on that team for the last 3 years.
I said that for the last 2 years. Everyone was saying he wasn't as good as Ruggs. He wasn't as good as Waddle and guys
He's
like
better
that.
than Ruggs.
I think so. I thought
way
that
better
way.
than Ruggs.
I thought that even in 2018 when Ruggs was good, I actually always thought that way because Ruggs wasn't as good of a route runner. He was just more of a deep threat type guy and a screen pass type guy with his speed, but he wasn't a great overall route runner. Smith is a very good route runner. He's physical for his size and has not blazing speed, but still has good speed and can move around all over the field. So I have him not far behind Chase in terms of what he could do, where they're both going to be top 10 picks probably, and I think top 5 prospects when you're looking at the draft. Then I think there's a little bit of a drop-off after that with Waddle because he's versatile, but he isn't in terms of he still needs a little more room to grow in terms of being polished. Elijah Moore is another name that's been rising a lot out of Ole Miss. And Josh, I know you brought him up, Rashad Bateman from Minnesota, who
Rashad Bateman, Gary Spooney is another one.
Who really got a raw deal with. I don't know if you saw this, Josh. The height listing that he had. It's like
Bateman.
They listed him 3 inches shorter.
It was like 6'3" on Rivals when he got recruited. Then he came out as 6'2" on his pro day.
Right.
I think it was.
So they really did him dirty.
It just seems like the wide receiver market, they're slowly becoming that smaller built guys, right? I mean, there's even Star State League, guys like that. I'm trying obviously Kevin White didn't work out and those guys didn't work out, but the league is, I think, slowly becoming the yards after the catch
spacing
kind of way the league is turning with slot receivers.
Right. And
that all I think starts with the way kind of how like the New England Patriots have kind of built it with Wes Welker and Danny Amendola and those guys where teams are trying to, carbon copy it. I mean, you still have those deep threats, of course, like Tyreek Hill, but even how tall is Tyreek Hill really? That's really what it is too.
I think he's 5'11".
Yeah, so it's.
But
all
he
about
also had good
thing.
jumping for his size, though, too.
It's all about guys that can be slot guys, like like you see Jamison Crowder and those guys, but speed, and you could just run to the outside. You don't even have to give them a route. Their route is okay, just run straight and get open. That's all Robbie Anderson ever did when he was on the Jets. It was just there was no route. It was just go 20, 30 yards, outrun your man, and we'll throw you the football.
That's why Arrow and I were worried about him when he went to Carolina, but he's grown into a lot more of a route runner.
Exactly, and that's the thing. He's turned into a more yards after the catch kind of guy where he's been able to fit in the system well. And I think, like I said, when you hear names like Bateman and Tooney and these guys, it's a very deep class. And then this is a class that, again, it's all about – and Carl's right. I mean, I believe Carl said that it's very offensive line heavy.
Yep.
It is, and it's very wide receiver heavy. And people say even Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is a wide receiver in a tight end's body, but he still has the title of a tight end. That's just the way it is. I mean, there's just really not that. And Arrow brought up names of Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, what's his name? Who took Chase Young. And also, by the way, the similarities is they all came out of Ohio State. Go figure. There's not that mega pass rusher that's coming out this year. Rousseau was that originally, way back when, and then he sat out the year. I haven't really heard a name that has really stood out to me where I don't even know when the first defensive guy is going to get picked in this draft. I mean, it could be as low as 8, 9, 10.
Yeah,
the Giants might be the first team. They might take
Parsons.
Pearson's from Penn State. Yeah. He might be the first defensive player picked at, I think, they go 12?
Well, Dallas needs defense. They're going to have to pick defense.
Oh, listen, I tell you this, though. You say they need defense. If there's a wide receiver, somebody that falls to them at that draft pick, they're going to –
They don't need a receiver,
They're going
though.
to draft a receiver.
They could knowing Jerry Jones, but they don't really need a receiver, though. Drafting CeeDee Lamb last year and them falling to their laps at 17. I mean,
that was so crazy when that happened, but –
even Judy falling to 15 last year was kind of surprising.
Well,
you can thank John Gruden for that.
The Jets were going to take him. The Jets were going to take him, and then they wound up taking Mekhi Becton instead.
Well, and the Raiders taking Henry Ruggs didn't help anything either.
That was just, the Raiders have done a lot of things that are.
Oh my God! I said they had the worst draft of anybody last year. Everyone says it's Green Bay, but I think the Raiders had the worst draft of anybody last year.
Again, it all comes down to like I said, it is kind of crazy when you hear it, and you hear Errol do say the names that have popped off the last couple of years. And then this year, the first defensive player is probably not going to be picked in this draft till, I think, 11th or 12th. And it's really amazing how it has fallen to that because that defensive specialist, two of the big names, Rousseau and Parsons, they didn't even play this year. They set out.
Well, the scenarios that could happen, it all depends on if there's going to be another quarterback trade because we know the top 3 picks are going to be quarterbacks at this point. The Jets wouldn't have traded Darnold. The Niners wouldn't have traded with Miami like they did. It'll be after that where it depends on if somebody's going to trade up for Fields, if he falls, or Jones.
Are you reading what Carl is writing over here?
Carl says, I like Pitts ending up like Devin Funchess. Come on, Carl. That's disrespectful. Devin Funchess? Oh, my God. Talk about a 1-route, 2-route guy, too, that had
by the
way less speed and not as good of hands. Nice try.
I wanted to mention this to Errol quick. I don't know if Errol saw this today. Did you see on Sports Illustrated today they interviewed Joe Douglas? He gave a full-blown interview on why he did what he did.
Let's hear it.
He actually said flat out that he knows Sam's going to be very successful. He's going to be really good in Carolina. He feels it. If they didn't have the second pick in the draft, they would have kept Sam, but they just felt it was best for both parties. And then the key one that he said is I don't give 2 bleeps. Okay, Joe Douglas cursed about whether the outsiders or what everybody else thinks. Okay, it was my call, my decision. And to me, I think Sam is going to really succeed. And he felt horrible making that call to Sam because he knows Sam was really dedicated to turning this organization around. Well, I'm going to pull up the exact article and give you the exact quote, but I just thought the 2 beliefs thing was crazy because you never hear Joe Douglas talk like that.
Yeah, because he has every right. I mean, the fans, how many times everybody was trying to push Sam Darnold out. Now all of a sudden the Jets push him out and everybody says, you know who won this trade? Carolina. You heard Stephen A. Smith and you hear, what's his name again? Buddha, whatever, Snothead from ESPN.
Matt Kellerman?
No, not Snot. The guy
Booger.
Booger. I call him Snothead because I call him Snothead because him and his Booger name. I mean, Mr. Snots over there stating that the Jets made a huge mistake. Listen, I've always said, and I'll say it again, the Jets should have kept Sam Darnold. They should have kept that pick or traded that pick out and tried to take as many first-round draft picks they could have gotten at the second pick. But if Joe Douglas believes Zach Wilson could change an organization, win Super Bowls for this organization, then I'm going to trust that my GM is going to make the right decision. Now, the question is, when now all of a sudden with the Jets trading away Sam Darnold, all the Jet fans are coming out of the hole saying that the Jets made a mistake, but in the beginning, all the Jet fans were telling him, we need to get rid of Sam. Sam's not going to develop. He's not the same quarterback we thought he was going to be when he came out with the whole suck for Sam in USC. Well, they were absolutely wrong about that. And again, it could change. It could change that Sam Darnold becomes a franchise quarterback and Zach Wilson wins a Super Bowl with the Jets, and they both win Super Bowls for their respectable organizations. Then one team doesn't look worse than the other. But if Sam Darnold wins a Super Bowl with Carolina or even gets close to a Super Bowl, goes to a Super Bowl, and Zach Wilson never even sees the light of day in a Super Bowl with the Jets, well, then the Jets made a huge mistake trading away Sam Darnold.
Couple of quotes that he said in this article was as it follows. It says, quote, "It was a clear-cut top two quarterbacks for us," Douglas says, "and there was a consensus. At that point, we felt good about our options. Like, okay, we have two starting quarterbacks, whether it's Sam, the rookie, or both. We really feel good about this. Any other year, we would have had all the information right when the offer was made," Douglas said, "and in all likelihood, he would have been on the other team. But then again, who knows if the offer is made at this point in any other year." And so it's crazy how he talks about the evaluation of it. He even complimented Trey Lance in this article. He complimented the way Trey Lance
liked Trey Lance
was throwing and everything like that. I mean, he said it's amazing when you see them up in person and compared to videos. It's night and day. It's really something that he looks at and he says, it's not the same as people,
watching highlights.
They don't understand what it is to be at a pro.
Are you guys hearing the stories that New England's trying to find a way to move up to 4?
Yes.
You hear about that? And that they've reached out to the Falcons, and the Falcons have given them a number of what they want to give up the 4th pick. Did you hear what they want?
Probably a king's ransom.
They want 3 first rounds, 2 second rounds, and a 4th or 5th pick and a player. A starting player, a starting defensive player, a starting defensive player from that. So,
So this is the quote that you'll like, Arrow, about what Joe said, what Douglas said. He goes, quote, "Whether I look bad or not for trading Darnold, I could give two bleeps about that." Mm-hmm. Douglas says with a laugh. "I know that he's going to have success. The timing didn't really work out for him here. We couldn't turn this around fast enough for him, and that's not his fault. I root for good people, and that dude's a good man, and he's going to do good things. I believe in that."
And you watch. Zach Wilson's going to play Sam Darnold this year, and this is going to be a
Thursday
big
night
game.
Football.
Thursday Night Football. It's definitely
going to be a Thursday night.
It is going to be a huge game because Sam Darnold's going to possibly go back to New York in front of the Jet fans, and he's going to want to shut the Jets up, and he's going to want to shut down the GM, Joe Douglas, and the executives.
I think they're in Carolina this year.
Who cares? I'm just saying. It could be the Jets. It doesn't matter where they're. Why do you always have to try to correct me? Who cares if it's Carolina or New York? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where they're playing. The fact is they're playing the Jets this year, and any possible way he's going to try to shut up the executives from the New York Jets organization and the Jets, okay? That's what he's going to do. And Zach Wilson has the pressure to go into either New York or Carolina and knock off the quarterback. I'm just glad Joe explained
himself. I'm glad Joe...
It's not a good enough answer to me. I'm sorry.
It may not be good enough, but I'm glad he explained himself, though. And he even said, and the other quote I didn't say was, let's just reset the market for our team. He said it resets the market for our team. He says most quarterbacks, when they're on good teams, most of them are on rookie contracts. That's when you build around that rookie quarterback, because what you do is you have more salary cap where you can put more assets around that player. Whereas if you're giving a guy a $25, $30 million option, it's a little tougher to build around it. Go look at what Seattle with Russell Wilson, even Aaron Rodgers with the Packers, the Saints with Drew Brees. They're in salary cap hell at times when they had those guys, and they gave them all that money. But then you had guys like Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson on rookie deals. you were able to somewhat build around them to make them successful.
So do you trust
Tom Brady's the once in a blue moon thing because he took less money because he had all the money in the world.
So you look at right now, and I listen to Stephen A. Smith, and you want to know something? I am starting to like Max Kellerman because he makes some of the stuff. Listen, some of the stuff in his arguments today made a lot of sense. I would argue the points when he was saying, first of all, he took you Jet fans' side with Zach Wilson. So I don't know why you're saying, oh, God. You didn't watch it. You didn't watch it.
Personality.
Well, that's fine. He's the one who said that the Jets won they won this because he saw the tape of Zach Wilson, and he's a believer of Zach Wilson, that Zach Wilson is going to be a star. Even though, could I speak for a second and just let me speak and just let me tell you what he said instead of taking shots at Max Kellerman? You didn't even hear what he said. So
he's a moron.
Yeah, he's a moron, and I'll tell you this: a lot of you Jet fans are morons too, because you were trying to run out Sam Darnold when we haven't even seen the great Sam Darnold actually play for a team that was actually any good. So to run a guy out when he didn't have a chance to really prove himself, to me, makes no sense. And him going to the Carolina Panthers, he has a chance to succeed over there because right now Matt Rule has proven that he can coach. He's going to a team, a player that he played with the New York Jets, where he had success with, and a team that has a very strong opportunity to be a successful NFC team. So Max Kellerman said that the Jets won this because Zach Wilson, he believes by the tape, is going to be just as good or even way better than Sam Darnold. He also believes, being that the Jets, there were a lot of people saying that the Jets weren't going to get better than a third or fourth pick. The Jets got 3 picks out of it. A 6th-round draft pick could turn out to be a third or a fourth pick this year because of the value of picks this year, because there wasn't much of an NCAA season for COVID-19. A lot of these players that are putting themselves into draft didn't have much of a season. So in the 6th round, you can get a 4th or 3rd round talent in the 6th round this coming year. And then next year, you get a 2nd-round draft pick, which could be a high 2nd-round draft pick if Carolina does not play well. McCaffrey's got to stay healthy this year. Yeah. Sam Darnold's got to have to figure out the offense more quicker than usual. So he's going to be the starter. It's not going to be Teddy Bridgewater. It's going to be Sam Darnold. It's going to take him a little while to understand the offense. So it could be, and they're in a very hard division, the division NFC South, which who's in the NFC South?
Saints, Falcons, Bucks.
Yes. So and the Bucks and the Saints. A lot of people still think the Saints are going to be the second best team, but nevertheless, Kellerman made some very, very good points. I would agree with Kellerman. And then there's Stephen A. Smith. He can't stand the Jets. So he said pretty much the Jets absolutely lost that. And Booger, Mr. Snot, said that the Jets were absolute losers on this deal. Absolute losers. Meanwhile, Booger can't even make a freaking play call. He can't even be kept by the NFL Network because his terrible sideline skills have been absolutely horrific. So there you go.
And he's the only one that needed a Booger mobile.
Mr. Snot report,
because he can't just stand up like a normal person.
I hope that wasn't his real name growing up.
What? Snot?
No, it was his. No, it was a nickname. It was a nickname. I forget why.
If that's on his birth certificate, and his mother called him.
No, his real name's Anthony McFarland.
Yeah, well, it's Anthony Snots McFarland in my eyes, because the guy, all he does is blow chunks. Everything that comes out of his mouth is garbage, and he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
He's one of the worst analysts.
Absolutely. And Max Kellerman was sitting there. I feel bad for Max because he had to deal with those two morons.
To think they had him and Jason Witten together in the booth on ESPN. They had the two
of them. What a train wreck.
They had Wooden doing the color, and they had Booger doing the sideline reporting. God help us all.
Wait, there was color commentary in that? It wasn't very colorful.
Well, I'm glad that the Jets weren't really on Monday Night Football that much, thankfully, so I didn't really have to care that much about it. So
oh, God. Imagine Jason Witten and Booger analyzing Adam Gase's play calls.
I just think that if you look at the big picture and where the Jets are, they put themselves in a very good position to succeed. Carl says this.
Show us your fingers, Booger.
Probably up his ass. Probably up his ass. But it's very interesting that Justin Fields is the talk of the town. A lot of people think that the New England Patriots are going to do everything possible to move up to the 4th pick. And that could be a tragic sign for the New York Jets, because here's the thing. You look at San Francisco and you look at the Jets. If Justin Fields goes at 4, and he turns out to be, I believe, the best quarterback in this class, the Jets are going to look really bad because they gave up a quarterback in Sam Darnold that could turn into being a franchise quarterback. You bring in Zach Wilson. Even if Zach Wilson is good, he's not the best quarterback or second best quarterback in this class like everybody think. And Justin Fields, who could turn out to be the best quarterback in this class, goes to New England. You have to play Justin Fields for the next, century, the next 10 to 12 years, 14, 15 years against the New England Patriots and Justin Fields. So the Jets better be damn sure Zach Wilson is their guy, because if he isn't, not only is Joe Douglas going to lose his job more quicker than usual, it's going to set the Jets back for 10, 15 years. Mm-hmm. It really is.
And again, Fields is as polished as it gets. I know you had your issue with him not throwing the first option, but in terms of an athletic throwing guy,
if he goes to New England, it's not going to make a difference.
Right. He's as polished as it gets, so it's very hard for you to try to say, all right, Wilson's obviously our guy with Fields right there. I think Fields is better too. Like I said, I have him like 1A, 1B type with Lawrence, and Zach Wilson the next guy after that. So he's right there with it, and that's going to be very hard for him to swallow if he goes to New England for sure. Now, New England's obviously going to have to give up a huge haul. I don't know if they're necessarily going to have to trade. They're going to want to trade with what Atlanta's asking for, but they're definitely, if they want to move up,
that's the only way they're going to get him, because if he falls out from New England, you know where he's going. You know where he's going. It's going to go to Denver. Denver will do anything they possibly can to move up. They're saying, if Denver is on ESPN, Trey Lance is going to be their guy. But
you know what's a scary thought? The Patriots might just trade with their BFFs in Detroit and try to get him from there. And the Lions will probably be stupid and not.
I don't trust Jared Goff. So.
Carl says this.
Carl says top 5 talent in draft would be a player with Case's eyes, Booger's fingers, and Jamarcus Russell's work ethic and intelligence. And
that's a creative player. I'm mad at. We need to try.
Could you believe this? ESPN is trusting that the Carolina Panthers will get Penei Sewell.
All right, who is he? They have Cincinnati taking it. They haven't taken Chase.
Jamar Chase.
Okay, so they have Chase.
My God, because you know why?
And Miami taking Rashawn Slater. What mock draft is this?
That's a crazy one. You know why they think that? Because they think that Burrow's going to push the organization to take Chase.
Okay, here's the crazier scenarios. Miami taking Rashawn Slater over Penei Sewell, and then Arizona's a team that trades up with Detroit to get Kyle Pitts from 15 to 7.
Could you imagine that?
Which is
Slater,
which is puzzling on Detroit's part. I'm trying to figure that all out.
If they get Pitts, if Arizona gets Pitts, you might as well write them all the way to the Super Bowl. You might as well.
Well, you forget who's still coaching them, though.
It doesn't matter with that kind of. With that kind of talent, no way. It doesn't matter.
There's been similar level coaches that have gone to the Super Bowl.
Kyler Murray is there, and with that team, with the weapons they have, they added A.J. Green. They still have Hopkins over there. They have a tremendous amount of and their defense is really, really, really good.
They missed David Johnson, guys. Come on. They missed the running attack. Come on.
Don't worry. They got Chase Edmonds. They'll save the day.
I'm telling you.
I love Chase Edmonds.
I'm telling you right now, Arizona is my favorite to go all the way to the Super Bowl in the NFC.
Oh my God, that's a bold stretch.
No, it's not.
It's not bold. They're a very underrated roster.
That's a bold strategy, Colin.
What are you doing over there? You exercising over there or something?
No, that's what they do in dodgeball. You don't remember? You ever see the movie when he sticks his knee up? That's a bold strategy, Colin. It might just pay off.
Well, it might be a bold. It might be a bold statement, but
ESPN, the Ocho.
Yeah, the Ocho Cinco.
I'm still disappointed that isn't a real network yet.
Anyways, when we come back, I definitely want to get into this baseball thing. And Conforto has been Mr. Bad Guy number 1 so far in the baseball season. I want to get into the whole driving his elbow into the ball today, which gave the winning run to the New York Mets. A lot of people are saying that they should have counted that as something else. What are they saying?
They would
counted him as
they were counted as a strikeout.
Yes. A strikeout or something like that.
Yep.
But we will get into that, our arguments to what we thought about the whole Conforto thing, and Conforto not playing good baseball. The Mets haven't been playing good baseball really since the beginning of the season. When we come back, we will get into the New York Mets here on the Sports Loudmouths.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouths.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. The Sports Loudmouths. I'm your host, Errol Marks. My co-host, Joshua, Mr. Little J Silverberg, and Speedy, Tidy Whitey Man himself, Petey. Remember, you can listen to our show every single Wednesday and Thursday from 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. Remember, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. You can call us at 631-500-0548. And you can download our app on iOS, WWSRN, or Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Here's the thing. Before we get into this baseball thing and this whole Conforto thing, and I'm reading what Carl is saying since we are coming back from a quick break. He says clearly a strike, which he believes should have been a strikeout. It's so interesting when we argue sports and how we can argue back and forth, make our points, and everybody thinks that they're right or they're wrong. There's no right or wrong answer to an argument. You can make your points, you can press on your points, and if you make, you can make the right attack to those points, which obviously if you attack those points better than the other person, you would think that you win the debate. It doesn't mean that I was right or he was right or this person was right just because I say I am. So I know a lot of people would say, hey, Errol, you always think you're right. No, I don't. I'm going to argue my points that if I think that I am right, I'm gonna go at it. I'm gonna attack it to prove that my thoughts to it, my optional thoughts to it, is the right answer and the right argument to the debate. So, and I'm not even debating. I wasn't even debating with Speedy. I was just arguing a point. If I was debating, we would bring out debating questions and argue the debate. There was no debate to that. So,
and the greatest drop of all time.
Somebody actually was sending me an email. Actually, sent me an email on when we went for break, and I read what he said. That why do you always think you're right on these debates? And I'm like, what are you talking about? This it wasn't a debate. So, and it was a unanimous email. So, whoever wrote that, you can come on, you can call the show. If you have an argument, you can come on the show and you make your points. I'm not going to argue with you. You don't have to go unanimously on my email when I'm going and I'm scoping. I get a lot of emails every single day. I love the show. I hate the show. I'm this, I'm that. I'm just happy that you're listening to it and you like it and you're enjoying it and you're actually tuning in and listening to it. So I'm doing something right if you're going to sit there and listen to my crazy ass. Anyways, getting back into baseball, the whole Conforto thing, I know a lot of people are going to argue, and even Met fans saying that he should have been out. He should have been struck out because he stuck his elbow out. Now, here's the thing. In baseball, even as a kid, what my coach used to tell me when I was in baseball, if we're playing a good pitcher, he says, lead your elbow in or step a little bit closer to the plate and try to lean your body into the ball to try to get on base, or it's because you're of the speed, or it's bases loading, you're trying to get the run in. So in small ball and in baseball as a kid, even in the minors or even in pee-wee baseball, little league baseball, or whatever you want to call it, even in stupid, what do they call it, stick ball. Everybody is trying to find a way to get that run. So I'm not going to say that Michael Conforto was wrong for leading his elbow in and trying to draw that walk or trying to draw that hit, okay? But in baseball, in the baseball rules, and we heard it, Alex Rodriguez for years got shot at because I remember there's a pop fly at shortstop, and he's screaming right behind him while he was trying to catch the ball, and he got all the way to third, and he probably said, I got it, and the ball hit the ground, and it caused a run and actually a win for the Yankees in that particular game. And baseball and the fans and even the players were taking shots at Alex Rodriguez throughout social media. Now, this thing with Michael Conforto, if people believe that Michael Conforto really did drive his elbow into the strike zone and try to get that walk to get that drive, that game-winning run, this wasn't the World Series. This wasn't the playoffs. It wasn't a life or death situation. This was game number 3 or game number 4 of the season. Yeah. And the Mets are trying so hard to get a win or get a run because they're not hitting the ball. None of their players are hitting. Not even the $340 million player is hitting the ball right now. And the only guy that's really been hitting the ball is Pete Alonso. And that's about it. I'm sorry?
Dom and Nimmo too are hitting.
Whatever. But the main thing is the only person that's really, really hitting, that the name is Pete Alonso. That's what everybody is saying. That's what I've seen so far. In all the Met games and the pieces of Met games that I've been watching, the only person that's been hitting the ball is Pete Alonso. You want to say Dom Smith because he's got 3 hits or the other guys, that's fine.
Well, Brandon Nimmo's hitting 360. I mean, clearly he's hitting.
That's fine.
I get what you're saying, though.
The fact is that they have star players that are getting paid a lot of money. Michael Conforto that wants a new contract, and what he is trying to do is trying to drive his elbow into the strike zone because he can't hit the ball, and he's trying to get a run for the New York Mets. If I was the manager of the team or I was part of the Mets organization, I would have been happy. I would have said, good job, Michael. You did the right thing, blah, 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 blah. But as a baseball fan and seeing that after the game and the Mets won because of that, I would be upset. If I was a baseball player, I'm going to try to peg Michael Conforto the next game. I'm going to try to hit Michael Conforto the next game to try to tell him, try to show him, you want to lead your elbow in, you want to lead your body in? Well, here's some sweet chin music.
That's what I'm going to
get. I'm going to hit you harder. You're never going to do that again, buddy. So I understand why fans are upset, and we all know the whole Alex Rodriguez situation over the years and how many people say that Alex Rodriguez is a dirty player, stupid player, he did a lot of stupid things that would be so against in baseball in 150 years it's been around. So you guys are Met fans. What did you guys think about that whole Michael Conforto thing?
It was the worst call, one of the worst calls I've ever seen. He was clearly a strike, and Carl even mentions that the suggestion is fine on a borderline pitch. That was clearly a strike. That was obviously going to be a strike. The movement was maybe going to make it close, but it was going to be a strike. It's a terrible call, and it's a terrible rule that they put in, the fact that it's not reviewable. That was the biggest issue with that, and it should have been a strikeout, and that's the bigger problem. What if this does happen? You mentioned it's just one game in the regular season, early in the season, but what if this does happen in a playoff game? The fact that this is not reviewable is a big issue, and that maybe is something that the rules committee is going to have to look at too because of that. And I agree with you where Conforto is probably going to create a target on his back, definitely from Miami, because he's doing this, because you could tell Don Mattingly was not happy. You could tell certain pitchers and infielders on that team were not happy that was the call. You could tell he was obviously leading it. Now, obviously, yes.
It was a cheap win by the Mets.
Yes, it was definitely a cheap win, and I know some of the Marlins players, they might have done that too in the past, if like you were saying.
What's his name was the king of it at the Marlins. He did it a couple of games in a row. I forget his name. His last name starts with a B. I can't remember his name.
Oh,
the outfielder.
Oh, the second. Birdie.
John Bray did it every time against the Mets.
Yeah. So, like I'm saying, there are, like Errol was saying, if players are taught to do that, they're going to do that. But like Carl was saying, like that was obviously a strike. Like you can't call it anything else other than a strikeout. Conforto should have been punched out, and this will definitely spawn a rivalry for sure. The bigger problem, like I said, is going to be, why is this rule not reviewable? It's something stupid. Why you pick and choose which rules are reviewable? Nice going, MLB Rules Committee.
Well, for me, I mean, I totally expect Conforto to get hit as long as if he's going to get hit by a pitch. Just don't aim at his head or anything like that. Be like, if you're going to do something like this, at least hit him in the elbow, hit him in the chest somewhere. You don't have to go right for the head. That's something that always gets me concerned and worried when they try to do something like this. But I expect it to happen. Clearly, it was a strike. It was a terrible call. Awful. The Mets are not hitting right now. I mean, there's a couple of guys in this team that are hitting that like I said, Alonso, Nimmo, and Dom are guys. I mean, there's guys that are doing things in the field. I mean, McNeil got a good hit today, his first big hit. Maybe that will get him going. We'll see. This is something that this team needed for sure. They needed to win this game. They can't
Francisco Lindor needs to start hitting too, man. He demanded that he wanted this big contract. I know it's early in the season. I know what you're going to say. He's batting 240. He's batting 240. Well, let's say there's 30 games into the season and he's batting 230. You going to be happy with that?
Okay, but say also.
Are you going to be happy? I'm asking you as a fan because all you guys say, well, it's not my money. It's not my money. They bring in I told you, Francisco Lindor, I would have never given him that $340 million contract until he proves, until you prove that you can play in New York. You can say, oh my God, all you want. This is a guy.
So should we be concerned about Gleyber Torres?
Why are you bringing the Yankees in there?
Because you always compare Torres to Lindor.
Torres didn't get a $340 million contract. Okay,
but if you asked me a question and I answered your question,
I just gave you an answer. No, you shouldn't be concerned because Gleyber Torres has done it in New York. We've seen him do it in New York, and he's been a valuable hitter for the New York Yankees in their lineup. So no,
he was very valuable last year.
Yeah, he's very valuable. Yeah, he was. When in the playoffs, he was a 350 hitter to fit Lindor, who's a career 260 hitter in the playoffs. So that's a big difference.
But I'll worry about the playoffs when my team
and
gets
Gleyber Torres right now.
Gleyber Torres in the playoffs. It's the fourth game of the season.
All right, it's fourth game of the season. Gleyber Torres is 23 years old, and he's making what? $500,000 a year, and he's batting to almost 260. To your Francisco Lindor, who has just as many at bats, batting 214.
Who has a career in this league that actually has been a consistent superstar player in this league.
Cleveland in a very easy division. Fine. In an easy division. Okay, now you're in the National League East, and you got to do it in the National League East. Okay,
and
in New York.
If he hits 285,
why are you always making an excuse with this? There's no excuse to this. He's batting 214. I know it's early in the season. I just said if there's 30 games in the season and he's batting close to 230, are you going to be happy about it? You gave me. It's early. It's early.
You go back to it. You go back to it with Speedy, and that's the thing. And you mock us when you say that. We're making excuses.
$340 million.
It's called, like you said. We're giving an opinion. We're allowed to give an opinion. It's not right or wrong. You don't have to mock us and say we're making excuses and do the voice.
It is an excuse.
It's an excuse on what we're trying to talk about. Speedy likes Jalen Ramsey. I like Francisco Lindor. Okay, you like Gleyber Torres. It doesn't matter what it is.
First of all, when Gleyber, I have taken, and I will get into Gleyber Torres on the fact that he's not a shortstop.
My God! Listen to the weekend crunch. The guy sticks his head up his ass so far he throws it up after he's done.
What are you talking about?
Gleyber Torres and you.
Yeah,
I think it's together.
Here's the thing. Gleyber Torres.
We should have seen like 3-4 years ago, which I actually agreed with him at the time. But the guys at our network were ripping on Errol for like how good of a prospect he was because he was the number one prospector one year. Yeah. He loved him from the start. So Errol's right in that right.
Gleyber Torres is a great player, and he's going to be a great player. I just don't think he's a shortstop. I think he's more of a second baseman.
Oh, he's definitely not a shortstop.
I think the Yankees will eventually shift him to second base. They have a lot of good shortstops in their farm system. They've drafted 2 of them in the last 4 years. One of them they believe is their future shortstop. So I believe eventually Gleyber Torres will be shifted to second base.
They might even sign one of the shortstops in free agency.
I don't think so.
They might Javi Baez.
They might. I think DJ LeMayo is the future first baseman for the New York Yankees. That's what I believe. I think that's what's going to happen.
I would say more third baseman.
No.
Voit will play first, and I think Urshela will
Voigt's going to be gone after this year. I think the Yankees will
I think it's Urshela that they're going to get rid of.
I think Urshela will be there because he's cheap. I think Voit you can get more for Voit.
Yeah, not this year so far.
No, you can. Voit won the home run in the American League and throughout the league last year. If Voit comes back and he's 100% healthy, the Yankees have a piece that they can trade. A lot of teams are looking for a power first baseman. They can get something pretty good for him. A top prospect.
I like Voit, actually. I like Voit a lot more.
I think you don't need Voit because you can move DJ LeMayo to first base. You move Gleyber Torres to shortstop. If you want to go after Javi Baez, you can do that in the offseason, or you can do something else with your farm system where you have a quality bunch of shortstops. All I'm saying with Francisco Lindor is, I told you this. I would have waited until the middle of the season and just see if Francisco Lindor is worth the $340 million coming to the Mets. Again, it's not your money. You said it's not my money. Ha, 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 ha. But what happens?
I didn't laugh about
what happens? No, here's the question. Yeah, you did. You laughed at it when we were talking about it. We were making a joke, and you laughed. And you said, well, it's not my money.
It's not my money.
And you laughed, and you thought it was funny. Now, here's the argument here. Here's my argument here. If Francisco Lindor has a bad season here in New York, what are the Met fans going to say? Wait till next year, and then we'll make our argument. This has been a problem for the New York Mets. They bring these players in from other teams, other organizations. They're great players, and they just, for some reason, they don't play well in New York.
I mean, Cespedes worked out at least. Well, thank God that. I mean,
Yoenis Cespedes did work out. And believe it or not, he loved the crowd and playing in front of the crowd. I don't know with Francisco Lindor. And now I'm not saying Francisco Lindor is going to fail here in New York. But to me, to give a player $340-something million when he's not your player, and you've seen this, besides Mike Trout, Bryce Harper, has he deserved the $300 million contract that he got?
Nope.
Oh, no. I don't.
Hold on.
Oh, you think Trout?
Hold on. Manny Machado. Do you think he's deserved the money that he got?
No.
$300? No. Okay. Now, the only player has Garrett Cole deserved the $326 million contract? So far,
not based on last year, no, but so far so good this year.
So far,
last year, I don't think not really. I mean, he was good, but he wasn't the best pitcher in baseball.
But again, short season.
It was a short season. Did you see what he did in the playoffs? I think he did pretty well.
He was good in the playoffs.
He was a shutdown pitcher in the playoffs. Okay, so that's what we look at. The Yankees bought Garrett Cole for the playoffs. And by the way, they drafted Garrett Cole, and he decided to go play college ball and go back into the draft. That was the Yankees' guy. The Yankees drafted him in the first round years and years ago in 2000. I think it was 2012 or 2013. They drafted Garrett Cole. Okay,
listen, these contracts are all egregious.
Hold on. Giancarlo Stanton got that $300 million contract.
No,
if you hey, say whatever you want. Giancarlo Stanton, since that contract, has hit over 250 home runs. So that's
meanwhile, Aaron Judge is out again this weekend.
Yeah, he is. But again, he didn't get a $300 million, and right now the way Aaron, no, he's not.
Not from the Yankees. He won't get it from the Yankees.
He is not getting a $300 million contract.
Oh, some team will give it to him.
No way. No way. The guy
will.
There's no way any team. First of all, when he becomes a free agent, he's 31, 32 years old. He's going to be a restricted free agent. There is no way a team is going to give him a $300 million contract when this guy hasn't played a full season since his full rookie season when he won an MVP, when he should have won the MVP.
The brand.
Okay, I'm telling you right now, Aaron Judge is not even going to sniff $300 million.
Hey, listen, if you're right, then that's awesome.
I guarantee you I'm right. I guarantee.
Listen, with ownerships out there, the Dodgers, the Mets, the Cubs, there's going to be teams that are the Nationals even.
I'll bet you.
Money in their pockets.
I'll bet you any amount of money you want that Aaron Judge never sniffs a $300 million contract.
I hope you're right.
I'm telling you right now,
he's
not going to make more than $225 million in any contract that he gets. Even with the Yankees will not pay him more than $220 million. And I guarantee you, there is no team. When you look at this guy and his list of seasons, he has not played one full season except his rookie season, his full rookie season, where he won Rookie of the Year and should have won the MVP. Okay,
it's funny you brought up the big name teams, Josh. I actually think if he gets going to get paid $300 million, it would actually be from somebody else, not necessarily a big name team, because he still won a big name, popular name that could maybe get fans.
You think he's going to get $300 million?
I don't think so. No, I don't. I don't. I think if it happens, I don't think it's going to be a big name team.
When he says that, look at a team like the Marlins.
Right.
The Marlins, which I'm not saying no.
Barry Cheetah will not give that.
I'm not saying the Marlins will do it. But I'm saying, there are certain teams out there that are going to want to draw fans to the stand. Okay?
Like what the Padres.
Going to get a crowd to want to come and watch. A name like Aaron Judge, who's playing, who's the face
of a 31, going to be a 32-year player that nobody. You look, DJ LeMahieu is a much better player than Aaron Judge.
Absolutely,
absolutely. Aaron Judge is going to become a free agent in 2 years when he's almost 32 years old. DJ LeMahieu, who's 32 years old this year and got a $90 million contract for 8 years. And he's
much better player, different name. That's what it is.
I think
DJ LeMahieu is not a marquee name.
Aaron Judge, I don't care what anybody says. Aaron Judge was a marquee name for 2 years. He's not been a marquee name since then.
Make him the face of baseball. They make him one of the faces of baseball.
He's not the face of baseball.
They always put him in the graphics. Speedy, you know this. They always put him in the graphics.
Yeah, he's a popular name. I wouldn't say the face of baseball. He's a popular name. But I think what it would come down to with that is it'd probably be similar to what the Padres do with Machado. Now, obviously, the Padres are better now, but when they signed Machado, they weren't that good of a team. But they were a team.
The Angels. They'll put him with Trout. That's what they're going to do when the contract is up.
Maybe.
That's what they're going to do. They'll probably sign Judge.
I could see that. I think, like I was saying,
they're not giving him $300. I'm telling you right now, there's no team that's going to give this kid $300 million. I'll tell you what, Josh. I'll put $5,000 on, and you can bet me $500. I guarantee you, when he becomes there's no team that's going to give him $300 million or more.
By the way,
I'll bet you $5,000. You heard me right here. But if you lose, I better get that $500.
By the way, Carl mentions.
Let me ask you this question though. Now, Artie Moreno, who's the owner of the Angels, correct? He's the same guy that gave Albert Pujols at 36?
Albert Pujols,
35?
when Albert Pujols went to the Angels, he won a championship. He won how many MVPs?
But how old was he?
Hold on. He won MVPs. He was 30 years old. And Albert Pujols Albert Pujols was never injured. Always was healthy. Right. Always played healthy. Aaron Judge can't stay on the field for more than 100 games.
Because he also was a name. That's the thing.
Josh, here's the thing. Again, you keep saying a name. The guy stayed healthy. This man couldn't stay healthy all these years. He's not getting $300 million. No team's going to do that.
Albert Pujols was also was the best first baseman in baseball for 8-9 years. in comparison, Aaron Judge had the great 2017 season where he should have been an MVP. Now that we know that Altuve cheated, but still, yeah, face of baseball, young guy. Albert Pujols was already a legend when he left St. Louis. There's a big difference, and he's still 32 years old. And
didn't they also give him, what was it, like a 10-year contract or whatever they gave him?
They gave him an 8-year contract. It expires this year. He's going to retire.
Yes.
And it looked like a bad contract because he started getting hurt, but that doesn't mean it was bad at the time. By the way, Carl also mentions, I think Bobby Bonilla just got paid again.
Yes, he did.
That wouldn't surprise me. And yes, Carl, we know he will still be paid after Lindor's contract. It was one of the first jokes that came out when they got him.
Hey, Cohen offered him straight up. He offered Bobby straight up, I will give you the full money this year. And he even said, I'll let him ride in the bullpen cart.
I would love him to make that a thing.
I don't
popularize the bullpen cart.
I don't think Aaron Judge is getting $300 million. I think he will get a nice contract, a worthy contract, but not $300 million.
Yeah, especially with the market for corner outfielders, too, is really going down.
He's not making that kind of money. I think you have seen probably one of very few corner outfielders making that kind of money again. And to me, the way baseball is with COVID-19 and the way the market is, and in 2 years when he gets arbitration this year, and next year he becomes a restricted free agent, there is no way by the age of 31, 32 that any team is going to give him $300 million when the guy couldn't even sniff the health. He's already injured early in the season right now. The guy can't stay healthy, and this is a huge problem for the Yankees because you expect him to be in the lineup with Giancarlo Stanton. And here's a funny statistic. Since Giancarlo Stanton has been traded to the New York Yankees, Aaron Judge, in 3 years playing with Giancarlo Stanton, they have not been in this. They've only been in the lineup together in 100 games. In 3 years.
Sounds about right.
100 games.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. 100 games. So I think it was like 105, 110 games in 3 years. This is the guy where everybody said murderer's row in the middle of that lineup. These guys could not even stay in the lineup together. So yeah, my honest opinion, all the Yankees booing Giancarlo Stanton has had better numbers than Aaron Judge since he's been here for the last 3 years. So all the booers over there to Giancarlo Stanton. Did Aaron Judge play better than Giancarlo Stanton did in the playoffs last year? The answer is no. Okay? Not even close.
No.
All right? And Aaron Judge has been a good playoff hitter. He really has. I think he has 15 home runs in the playoffs already in such a short career. He's a great playoff power hitter. Again, Giancarlo Stanton, he hit 6 home runs in 2 series.
I think outside of Arozarena for the Rays, he was the next best overall hitter in the playoffs, and he got eliminated. He got eliminated in the second round. He was outperforming a lot of the Dodgers players, the Braves, the guys that went a lot further.
So I think a lot of Yankee fans need to start opening up their eyes and realize if you want to boost somebody, and I'm not taking a shot at Aaron Judge, and I said it, I posted something up that is Judge a dud? And he's batting, and when I posted it up, he's batting .214. Aaron Judge is a great hitter, is a power hitter. Everybody expects him to be close to a 300 hitter, is giving you 35 to 40 home runs and 100 RBIs. He is not going to sniff that this year because the guy can't stay healthy. So, again, all you booers, all that crap that I've heard with Giancarlo Stanton the last couple of days, guys, grow the F up, okay? Grow up.
Errol hates all the fan bases of the teams that he likes.
That's not true. That's not
hates
true.
The Jets fan base, hates the Yankees fan base.
I don't hate the Islander fan base.
No, I didn't say them. I said most of them.
I don't. I hate the Yankee fan base because the Yankee fans are so uneducated. They are so uneducated. They talk because all they expect, all these young kids that have never seen the losing seasons, they really have never seen losing for the Yankees. I watched the Yankees in the 80s when Danny Tarnable and Randy Velarde and Pat Kelly and Kevin Moss, where everybody thought was the next thing since sliced bread. Roberto Kelly. You talk about the pitchers that they had. I'm trying to put it all together. I'm trying to remember, but this Yankee team, this franchise has been a winning franchise for 30 years. Okay? So all the Yankee fans, the blinded Yankee fans, they don't know what a bad team is. They don't know and by the way, even as bad as the Yankees were in the 80s, they still won a championship. And
no, they didn't. They went to a championship.
They went to a championship, but they still won a championship within 10 years.
And I think they still have the second best record in the American League.
They had the best record.
Oh, okay.
They had the best record in all of baseball. They had the most wins in all of baseball in those 10 years. Mm-hmm. and they never won anything in there. That was because there was only one team that came out of the division. It was a wild card team. Right. So the Baltimore Orioles were such a good team in the 80s. So again, I'm just going back and forth in my arguments to this. It's unfortunate that the Yankee fans are just so uneducated. By the way, traded away for Jay Buhner. What is he talking about?
I guess the Yankees.
The Yankees had Trey Buhner. Yeah. Jay Buhner, and he went to Seattle. They traded him. Yeah, listen, there was a lot of stupid moves that the Yankees have made. And there were a lot of good moves that the Yankees have made, a.k.a. Guys like Paul O'Neill traded for Roberto Kelly, a top-notch prospect. I mean, we've seen a lot. Tino Martinez, when the Yankees signed him and they brought him in, and where everybody thought that he wouldn't fit the Yankee culture. So there's so many. And then the Yankees made some bad moves. The Jason Giambis. Alex Rodriguez was a good move by the Yankees. I don't care what anybody says. You look at his number. He won what, 2 or 3 MVPs for the Yankees. I don't care if he cheated. He won a lot of MVPs, and he helped the Yankees win a championship. Say whatever you want, he did. So
if not for him, they don't win the championship. If not for him,
absolutely.
Him and that bullpen was huge with Hughes, Chamberlain,
and CeCe Sabathia.
And Matsui was World Series MVP.
Yes,
so.
and CeCe Sabathia was dominant.
CeCe and Burnett and Pettit. It was the 3-man rotation. They went 3-man rotation that whole playoff.
Sabathia was unbelievable in the playoffs. I remember.
Well, the three of them were awesome. Yeah. Burnett, CeCe, and Pettit. They only went with 3 guys every series. It was incredible that they survived. Amazing that they did that.
The only time I ever rooted for the Yankees in a playoff series was I couldn't stand that Phillies team that much.
Oh, God, with Lee and those guys and Howard and Rollins, those scumbags.
No, such a nice guy. But
I know I am. I'm sorry.
Well,
I hate Jimmy Fallon.
Philly fans would say the same thing about New York teams, so we all know that.
I get a little thrown off with this whole Conforto thing. As Michael Conforto, right now, Michael Conforto is fighting for a contract. He is going to get his contract. I don't know how much he's going to get. Is he worth $100 million? I don't know. I do believe that Michael
Borges is his agent.
I think Michael Conforto is a good player, a quality player. He still needs to learn. He needs to start hitting. Batting 176 right now. You're not going to win a contract from the Mets hitting 176.
Consistency's been a major issue his whole career, not just this year.
I mean, we don't know what he is. Is he a 250 hitter? Is he a 280 hitter? We don't know. I mean, that's just always been the problem with him.
His power numbers will help out in terms of at least getting over 100, but I can't see much more, and he's definitely not making what Springer got.
I don't know what Boris is thinking. And also Springer's a center fielder. That's the thing. Conforto is the corner field. I mean, we don't know how much longer Springer has in center field. That's just the only thing.
Yeah. But he's obviously younger. He's still going to get probably something close to that.
Well, isn't Springer hurt now, right, Speedy? He's hurt now.
Mm-hmm. So he'll probably get something close to that. Carl says put some elbow grease into that contract, Conforto. Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah.
Well,
Carl's doing the troll job tonight, huh?
No, Carl could be a big royal pain, but Carl knows his sports. He knows his sports. He's a big fan of the show.
Except he still says Anthony Rizzo is the best first baseman in baseball. But
hold on 1 second. Anthony Rizzo is a top 3 first baseman in baseball. I don't say he's the number 1. I still think
Carl did though.
No, but listen, it's his opinion. He's a big Chicago Cubs fan, and that's his opinion. He has a right to his own opinion. If you kind of you compare and contrast their numbers, I would say Paul Goldschmidt is a better overall player. Paul Goldschmidt is one of the best defensive first basemen we've seen in a very long time. And by the way,
does. Oh, he said I wouldn't take him over. I said I would take him over Goldschmidt. Yeah, that's what we said. Yeah, you said I think in June or July or something like that. He was the best first baseman in baseball.
You don't put Abreu in there yet, right?
No, I would say Goldschmidt and Freeman are 1 and 2. Then it's probably Rizzo.
That's what I was guessing.
Rizzo is 3. I think that. I never said he was the best.
All around.
He says he never said he was the best.
Are you sure about that, Carl? I'm pretty sure you did in June or July.
You guys are about to disagree again.
Yep, we're back.
But you know what? I really, and I will say this again. What is he saying right there?
Rizzo has more Gold Gloves than Goldschmidt now. Yes, you mentioned that in the time that you said it in July.
Paul Goldschmidt is a better all-around player. He's there. There's no argument to that. If we did a survey right now, who's better, Anthony Rizzo or Paul Goldschmidt? I would say 90% of the people will say Paul Goldschmidt. Okay, I don't think anybody would argue that. And you could see how good Paul Goldschmidt is. Go watch what St. Louis is doing right now.
I've met Paul Goldschmidt before. Really nice guy, actually.
Oh.
I never met Paul Goldschmidt.
I interviewed him when I interned at the New York Post. I got to interview him. I did it for the Sunday column. I interviewed him. Really awesome guy. Really cool dude.
I mean, he's batting .308. He's a career .300 hitter. He already has he has no home runs yet, but he has 2 RBIs, 2 base on balls. His on-base percentage is .742. I mean,
the crazy thing about Goldschmidt is the story that when he was coming up was he's a terrible fielder. He could not field the baseball. That's the funny thing about it.
By the way, Arenado, everybody thought that Arenado can't hit and he's not going to play out of Colorado. He already has 2 home runs. He has 7. I think he has 5 RBIs, and he's batting .345, and he's slugging and the on-base percentage is the best in the league right now.
Good job, Rockies.
So, so everybody knows.
They traded nothing for that. No, and they're paying that contract.
$50 million. Oh, my God.
I mean, think about it this way. Nolan Arenado, who's one of the best players in baseball, they have arguably 2 of the best players at their positions.
He's going to opt out and get paid.
What happened?
I think he's going to eventually opt out and get paid.
Why? I mean, he's making a lot of money. He's making $265.
He can make more money, I think.
He'll get the endorsements over there in St. Louis. He'll be a star over there. They're going to win. They're going to win World Series with that team.
Remember, also, Josh, the Cardinals quickly extended Goldschmidt. If there's any hinting of it, I think they'll be able to do it.
I mean, when you look at the team, I mean, their pitching is going to vary this year, but I still think they'll add a pitcher or 2 at the trade deadline. Right. I think that this is a very, very good team. I think they have a tremendous amount of depth in their lineup. And by the way, Molina is hitting .304, and he has a home run already, and he has 3. I think he has. What is it? He has 7 RBIs. I didn't know that.
Wow. Damn it. The Yankees should have signed him and put Sanchez as DH.
Well, no. The guy that's playing, has the most RBIs right now with St. Louis is Dylan Carlson.
Young outfielder, young center fielder.
How's Flaherty pitching this year?
He had 1 bad start and I think 1 decent start.
Because outside of him, it becomes hit or miss with it. And the bullpen, too, even, is such hit or miss. They're still trying to figure out
their bullpen's been like that for like the last 4 years.
They're trying to figure out what to do with Carlos Martinez. That's the problem. They don't know if he's a reliever or a starter because he's such a head case.
I will say this, though. With all the different relievers that have been up and down for the Cardinals, Mike Shilt's still done very well managing.
He's an awesome manager.
Yes.
I mean, look, I just think people give him a bad rep because of what happened against Washington 2 years ago and how just poor they looked against the Nationals.
They didn't hit against Washington.
That was the problem. They couldn't hit.
It wasn't just Schilt. It was their whole offense.
Schilt took over a very talented team that Mike Matheny was running to the ground pretty much, and literally got the team to the NLCS. I believe that was his second year as manager. His first year, they almost made it to the playoffs.
They were the first team out. Yeah, they were the first team out for 3 straight years. 2 with Matheny and 1 with Shilts right at the end of the season. They still should have made it. I think they fell apart. I think they fell apart late, but they still should have made it. But still, yeah, he's a very good manager.
I still love the Brewers, too. I mean, Corbin Burns, man, that kid can pitch. He had a great game again today. He got no decision against the Cardinals, but that dude can pitch, man.
Here's the thing about the Brewers. I still think the Brewers are going to try to rebuild this team. I think a lot of guys like Hader, I think he will not be on the team by the end of the season. They're going to trade away him. They're going to have pieces that they're going to move. A lot of these players, again, Milwaukee is a good team. They're
still a competitive team, though.
They're in a very good division, and I still think the Cubs are going to be a pain in the ass organization, a pain in the ass team in that division. Pittsburgh is a terrible team. We all know they're one of the worst teams in the league, but Cincinnati is playing good baseball as well as they should. They still have a very good lineup. They have some good young players, good young outfielders. And,
Nick Castellanos, baby, that's what he's doing.
They're playing good baseball right now, and like I said, the team to watch is the St. Louis Cardinals because I still think, I don't care how good the Dodgers are right now, being that they're 5-2, and San Diego with the team that they have. The team to watch right now this year in the National League is the Cardinals. That Nolan Arenado trade came out of nowhere. And I think that whole Lindor thing really, this was before Lindor, but everybody knew that Lindor was getting traded. And everybody knew Lindor was getting traded. It wasn't sure where he was going, but as soon as Arenado got traded, that was when everything started to fall together. A lot of players got traded, and you saw the move starting happening. Nolan Arenado going to the St. Louis Cardinals was a huge move.
That was a move that had been building up. They tried to get it done last year, and it fell through. And then they went back at it.
They gave him nothing for him.
Yeah. And the funny thing was, the Cardinals offered a bigger package last year and were willing to pay half the salary. And now this year, the Rockies aren't paying any of the salary.
Yeah, they got an extra $50 million to go with it.
It was crazy. I remember when I heard the rumors that some of the prospects they were going to put into that trade last year for Arenado, and the Rockies said no. They were trying to still build the team. I mean, it blows my mind that they actually screwed the pooch on that one.
I'm pretty sure Carlson was in that deal too, and now look at
he
how he's playing. Yeah,
he was.
Because remember, he came up. He was one of the
headliners in that deal.
Yeah, he came up in spots, I think, in 2019, and then played the whole season. Was good last year, and now starting to turn into the player that he's supposed to be. And they could have had that, and then no, good job.
No, I don't even know what they got. They got the. They got like the Christian Yelich package from the Milwaukee Brewers.
It's going to be very interesting with the Chicago White Sox. A lot of people picked the Chicago White Sox to come out of the American League this year with the depth that they have as far as offense and defensive, offensive and pitching, and their defensive team. Adding Tony La Russa coming out of retirement and taking over the management ordeal over there. A lot of people think that they were a ready-to-win now team. I think so far what I've seen so far, there's a lot of deficiencies in this team. They're good. They have a good pitching staff. I think that they're a lot better when it comes to, on paper, when it comes to their pitching staff than their lineup. Their lineup has really not played well so far this year. Now, I know it's early. I know it's 8 games into the season for them. Mm-hmm. But the depth that they were supposed to have, and when you look at some of the young players that everybody keeps talking about on this roster, it stuck out. And the guys that are really showing up, Dallas Keuchel so far looked really, really good so far this year. Their pitching staff has looked good. But everything else, I'm very iffy on this Chicago White Sox team. I don't think they're any good.
You wonder if a lot of these young players are getting used to not having Eloy Jimenez because he got hurt right at the end of spring training too, and a lot of guys having to shuffle in the lineups. We've seen certain guys like Anderson and Robert play okay, but again, not to the standards that they have. And then they got other guys like Nick Madrigal and Andrew Vaughn that are up and coming young prospects that are supposed to be very good this year. So you wonder if that really threw a wrench into what they were doing because they were hitting it in points, but yeah, like Errol was saying, not this top potent offense they're expected to be in the American League so far.
Big time. Everybody said they were big.
I think with when Jimenez comes back later in the season, that could make a big difference. Obviously, it's not going to be for a while, but eventually I think those players will end up going, like Errol was saying, this is the worst division in baseball right now.
Terrible division.
Tigers, Royals.
It's been the worst division in baseball forever. Come on. Honestly, guys, you look at the divisions, even the American League West, you still had Houston, you still had the Angels. Texas is always a fighter. Seattle's always fighting. Oakland's always a good team. I mean, this is the worst division. Even in the National League, there's never a bad National League. In the National League Central last year, it was up and down. But
they still had 4 playoff teams.
They still had 4 playoff teams. I mean, this is by far the worst, and that's all I'm saying with Lindor. Lindor played in arguably the easiest division for the last 5 years. So I want to see Lindor do it in a good division, in a division where the Mets are expected to be a World Series contender. That's what I want to see. If Lindor can't do it with a $340 million contract, I think we're going to go back at this contract, maybe not now, 3-4 years down the road, and all you Met fans, I'm not saying you guys, but all you Met fans that really thought this was a for sure great thing, could go down as one of the worst moves the Mets has ever made.
So, going back to the White Sox quick, because I know I was going to say it before. I know because I know Speedy, you said about the Eloy Jimenez thing. I mean, and now Tim Anderson is now on the IL too. Now he just got here, so he's hurt. And if you look, Luis Robert has not been the defensive superstar that he's been. He's having a terrible start to his year this year. I mean, he just made a really bad misplay the other day. I think the ball. He went for a fly ball the other day and it bounced off his head. And it was just
one of those bloopers.
Jose Canseco.
One of those plays, and it was such a mess. And
I missed that? Damn it.
This was the thing that worried me with the White Sox was you had Rick Renteria, who won AL Manager of the Year last year. So you had something that was good in place.
What is he saying?
And you brought in, as I like to kind of say it, like a dinosaur. And La Russa, who hasn't been in the dugout since what?
2011 with the Cardinals.
I mean, that's 9 years, and this is a very young White Sox team. This is not the usual St. Louis Cardinals team with a lot of these veterans that he had. This is a very different team he's managed, and it's is a totally different ball game now for him. And I did not like. I said it on the Weekend Crunch with Arrow. I did not like the La Russa move. I was very against it. I thought Rick Renteria did a good job. The players loved him. I mean, La Russa didn't even reach out to his best player, Tim Anderson, for a couple months. You even reach out to him. They asked Anderson in the interview, have you heard from Tony? He said, haven't spoken to him since he got hired. So I'm like, that's your best player. Shouldn't you reach out to him like the first day or second day you get hired? Like, get to know him, feel him out. Like, what's the clubhouse like? Are you going to be a leader on this team? He didn't even do that.
By the way, Carl mentions, how about this stat? Lance Lynn is the first American League pitcher to throw a shutout with 10-plus strikeouts in no walks in a team's home opener. Wow, I'm surprised. Because the American League,
man, Giolito's the real deal too, man.
Yeah,
I love Giolito. That was a bad trade for the Nationals. I hated that trade for Eden.
Oh my God, yeah, that was
back with the White Sox.
White Sox fleeced them really badly in that.
Well, and now Eden's back with the White. Look, I know, and I mean, helped the Nationals win the World Series in some capacity. Was more like how he enjoyed.
But I think they could have won without that trade. Not that Eden didn't play well.
They could have won exactly. They would have won without that trade.
Yeah.
They would have won without that trade. And now Adam Eden is back where? Back on the White Sox.
I always liked him when he was there too with the Nationals, and even like young with the White Sox. But yeah, that was definitely a fleecing. But actually, Carl, you brought up a very interesting stat though. I'm surprised that he would have been the first one.
Speaking of stats, tonight the New York Islanders, Sorokin, is the first rookie goaltender to win his first 7 games at home for an NHL team. He is the first goalie in NHL history to do something like that. So Sorokin already breaking history and barriers right now as a goaltender for the New York Islanders. The Islanders make a trade yesterday with the New Jersey Devils, which is very surprising that the Devils and the Islanders make a trade in the middle of the season. And the Devils helping the Islanders out, where the Islanders are set up very, very well to be a Stanley Cup contender, adding Palmieri and Zajac, 2 players that have played very well in the playoffs. Palmieri with the New Jersey Devils, and Zajac won a Stanley Cup in 2012 with the New Jersey Devils and was a big part of that Stanley Cup championship team.
Palmieri's got good experience in Anaheim, too.
I'm sorry?
They got to the Stanley Cup. They lost it to the Kings.
Yeah, no, he won a Stanley Cup.
But he won one. He won.
No, he did win.
He won when he was a younger player. And Palmieri also has good experience with Anaheim.
You just talked to Lyle about it. Lyle already bought a Travis Zajac jersey tonight.
Oh, God.
Carl says, who are the Panthers going after? They just traded 2 players to the Blackhawks. All right, thank you for breaking that news.
I didn't hear that, but that probably just happened because the Panthers and the Blackhawks, I think they just made a trade right over there. What were the trades?
Lucas Carlson and Lucas Wallmark to the Florida Panthers for Brett Connolly, Riley Stillman, and a promising prospect. All right. That's interesting. Wallmark, who was with Carolina, was a good playoff player for Carolina. It's kind of an even trade both ways, Carl. I think taking on Connolly is not bad, though, for the Blackhawks' perspective and a good prospect. I think that's pretty good for what they need in terms of like the intensity type guys. They're kind of a smaller team with more offensive types. And for Florida, Wallmark's been a good player.
And the Blackhawks are a playoff team. They are. Right now, they're a borderline playoff team.
I think they're
trying to find the trade.
5 points back of Nashville right now.
Yes.
Because Nashville started to heat up after they were really bad in the beginning of the season. So, yeah, they definitely can make it because Dallas has been down from where they were last year.
I told you they weren't going to be the same team.
Yeah, I wonder. We need to get Patrick Turner back on the show.
We should
check in on how his Stars are doing now.
I felt bad for him because he was rooting and he was so right about the Dallas Stars, how far they went into the playoffs.
That's true. They got hot immediately after we interviewed him.
Yeah.
And it was crazy how far they got.
And he kept texting me every day. He kept texting me in the playoffs every day, Turner. Oh, what about my team now? What about Dallas now? And he liked what the Islanders are doing. I really thought it was going to be Dallas and the Islanders in the Stanley. Could you imagine that? Me and Turner.
You two would have had at it.
I mean, seriously. What did he say? Carl said something.
So will the Panthers make a bigger move then? Yeah, they should try to make one for a defenseman because Aaron Ekblad just got hurt. He's going to be out for the rest of the year. And they didn't have much depth beyond that anyway. Anton Stralman is their next best defenseman. You
mean Keith Yandel isn't that good anymore?
I mean, the Islanders needed to make moves for wing offensive players, and they did that. And Zajac is an insurance policy as far as the center is concerned. You could put him on a line as a winger, but you can variate him, especially in the playoffs, in the center position. Very good at the faceoffs, great playoff player. And now the Islanders are built to win a Stanley Cup. They really are. They needed to add offensive players. Palmieri was a good fit for them.
Palmieri's a perfect fit.
He is a perfect fit. You put him with Barzell on the first line. You're getting yourself instant offense, and Palmieri is going to love the fact. And the Islanders would not give away a first-round draft pick. This is the second year that they gave up a first-round draft pick for a player at the trade deadline.
I guess it helps with the connections. It helps with the connections with Lou and the Devils still, because he still has relationships over there with some of the guys that are still there.
I think he fleeced. I think he fleeced the Devils. I do.
Probably did. I mean, look, that first-round pick's going to be a very low first-round pick. But again, I mean, first-round picks are first-round picks.
Yeah,
right?
it doesn't matter. In hockey, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because usually hockey drafts are top heavy.
Usually, if you hit it doesn't matter. That's the one. Hockey's the one sport.
They didn't have to give up a second-round pick. They gave up one pick. They gave up their first pick, and they gave up a player that they got from the Colorado trade when they traded what's his name again to Colorado. Taves. So they didn't give up much for Zajac, who is a very good playoff player and fits very well. And the Islanders could very much remember they still have what's his name again, the defenseman, the captain of the Devils from last year,
Andy Green.
Mm-hmm. Andy Green's a part of the New York Islanders, and this is the Islander Devils because now Andy Green's still a part of the team. Now you're bringing Zajac, and now you're bringing Palmieri. You're
maybe slow. Patrick Elias retirement.
The official trade was Zajac and Palmieri going to the Islanders for depth forwards AJ Greer, Mason Jobst. The Islanders' first-round pick in the 2021 draft and a conditional fourth-round pick in the 2022 draft.
The Islanders win that trade. They absolutely do because Palmieri gives them instant offense. Zajac's going to give them offense in the playoffs and leadership. I think the Islanders. If any Islander doesn't think that this trade doesn't help them become a contender, it does. It puts them right there. They're one of the best teams in the National Hockey League right now. You added offensive players, which has been your weakness all season long. You're going.
I'm curious who gets Taylor Hall now. That's what
I'm sorry.
I'm curious who gets Taylor Hall now.
It's not going to be.
I'm curious if a team like Washington maybe steps in and tries to try to get Hall or somebody.
They better do something because the Islanders
maybe
they better do a lot of these teams in the Eastern Conference better make moves because the Islanders made a move that really solidifies them.
There's one team that doesn't have to make a move, I think, and that's the one move is I think Tampa because they're gonna make their move in the playoffs when they get Kucherov back. Right. They're the one team I think that can afford to not have to make a move. The Islanders need to do it because we've been harping on it. If you haven't heard the Weekend Crunch, we've harped on it. All the Islander fans ever saying they need to get Hall. They need to get Hall, and I was saying to everybody, just get Kyle Palmieri. Kyle Palmieri is just fine. Barzell just needs a guy to play with on the same line. That's
think of this right now. The Islanders they haven't had Palmieri play yet. They haven't had Zajac play yet. The Islanders are 1 point having the best record in the NHL.
They played tonight. They actually debuted tonight.
No, they didn't play tonight. Did they?
No,
play
they did. They dressed. They actually played them. Yeah,
I didn't even know they played tonight. But
yeah,
they had no part. They had no part of the win. But the fact is, they didn't. They didn't. It was Sorokin, and Sorokin is that is the secret right there. If Sorokin turns out, and he has turned out to be everything that everybody thought he was going to be. If Sorokin gets into the playoffs and he is hot the way he is playing right now, I think the Islanders have a very good chance of being a Stanley Cup championship team this year. They really solidified their team. And Lou Lamoriello said this was a 3 to 4 year project. He's right there on his third year. Mm-hmm. They've gotten better every single year. The first year they had one of the best records in the league, and they were one of the best defense. They were the number one defense in the league after being one of the worst defensive teams with Barry Trotz. They got out of the first round. They got to the first round. They lost. Now last year they went to the Eastern Conference Championship, and they were still one of the top defensive teams. This year, they're one of the best defensive teams in the league, and now they have their goaltender. Don't be surprised if the Islanders are back there in the Eastern Conference Championship against the Tampa Bay Lightning again this year, because I think they match up very well against Tampa this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Islanders go to the Stanley Cup this year. I think it's going to be very, very interesting with the way the Islanders have been playing. And now they really solidify their team. They really did. And Lou Lamoriello is telling you that he's going 100% for it. He is going for it because, listen, the Islanders still have a lot of good youth players. They have a lot of good defensive players right now in their farm system. They got the kid Salo. They have this other kid that Mikey C was saying in Bridgeport is a very top, very good defensive player that they have over there. They have still Bodie Wild over there in Bridgeport. The Islanders have a bag of riches of great draft picks that, yes, Garth Snow has kept for the Islanders organization. So now moving in, Lou Lamoriello has not really built around the draft, except his first draft when he got Oliver Wahlstrom and Noah Dobson. He has given away practically every single year his first round. He added Pajot. Look how good Pajot's been since he's come to the Islanders. I think he has 13 goals this year. If it was a full season, he probably have 30 goals. He's still a very young player, 26 years old, has a tremendous career in front of him. And the Islanders have they have the depth. They have the depth. To win a championship, you need depth. The Islanders have it. And they solidified their depth after making that trade yesterday. I think it was a fantastic move by Lou Lamoriello. And the Islanders aren't making any more moves. I think they've really solidified. They've got more than enough players going into the playoffs, and they have a lot of gritty players. I think that they're a team that is built to win a championship.
Palmieri is very underrated toughness too. He could hit a little.
He's young too. He's 30 years old.
Physical
Still
guy
a young player.
When he was with the Anaheim Ducks too, in that system that had a lot of good size.
Smithtown
guys.
native. He's from Long Island. He grew up an Islander fan. He's happy to be here. I do believe that the only reason why the Islanders made that trade is to give up a first-round draft pick because they plan to re-sign Palmieri. Palmieri will sign back with the Islanders next year. I don't think you're going to have to pay him a lot of money. You'll probably have to pay him between $4 and $5 million, and you get your winger. You don't have to go after a Mike Hoffman. You get your winger that is going to be playing with Barzal for the next 4 to 5 years. So I think it was a good move by a guy like Lou Lamoriello, and believe it, if the Islanders win the Stanley Cup, and everybody was talking about Sorokin and why you bring Sorokin, and when Lou Lamoriello was the guy that brought Sorokin here when Sorokin didn't want to come here, and then make that trade for Zajac and Palmieri, it could go down as one of the greatest moves in New York Islanders history. So I think it was a good move, and it was a good day for New York Islander fans. Now the question is where the Rangers are at. The Rangers are not quite out of the playoffs. They still have a chance to make it into the playoffs. They have work to do. They definitely do. 41 points. I told you guys, the Rangers, as good as their roster says they have talent, their weakness is their defense. And even though, as the season progressed, their defense has been a lot better than it was last year. Their power play has picked up, but their defense has gotten worse.
Their penalty kill is number 1 in the league, though.
Yes.
Very impressive.
Where are they ranked right now in defense?
I think they were 15th last time I checked.
Yes.
They
fell out from the top 10.
Yeah, because they were top 10 for a little while, and they were above average most of the year, but they definitely hit a slump. I think the bigger problem with the Rangers, though, they've had a lot of trouble winning close games. I think one of the guests we had on was mentioning that they've crumbled a lot in both tie games.
Right now, defensively, they're 11th.
They're 11th right now? Okay. So they're actually still pretty good. But close games, I think, is the biggest problem, especially with young players. If they get consistently in that kind of mindset where they have trouble down the stretch, that's going to hinder them in terms of, even as talented as they are, winning in a tough division like that, because we know it's a very tough division. Even the original Metropolitan Division was a difficult division.
What bothers me about the Rangers, and I'm not going to take a shot at the Rangers because there's no reason to do it, okay? What bothers me about the Rangers is the Rangers have a bag of riches of great young players, okay? Why aren't they trading them for players that's going to make your team better, where you can become a playoff team? They have good goaltending. They have good offensive players in Panarin and Zibanejad and in some of the young players that they have and that they've drafted. Why is it that it's been 3 years and the Rangers have had problems squeaking into the playoffs? Even last year, they went into the playoffs in the round robin. They got knocked out and they got swept by Carolina. They need what they need to do, and I'm going to say this again. They have a bag of riches going into this year's draft. Do whatever you can to get a number 1 defenseman. I don't know why the Rangers don't do it. I don't care what they drafted last year and how lucky they got this defenseman that they got, and the Devils were pissed off that he was picked before them. I don't care about that. That's a future defensive player. You need a guy now. You need a guy that's going to help you get into the playoffs and be a competitive team now. You don't have a player like that. And I don't want to hear about some of the players you have because they have been I'm not saying Fox. Fox looks like he's a player. I like Fox. He's going to be a good player in this league. They have weaknesses in that defense. They do. And DeAndre Miller has played a lot better than I thought he was. But in the last couple of weeks, DeAndre Miller has not looked good. So, again, I listened to the Beeve, and the Beeve says, I told you the Rangers are going to be a borderline playoff team. Hold on 1 second, Beeve.
They're still 5 points behind.
They're 5 points behind right now in a play. And that, in a hockey terms, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That is a lot.
And the Bruins are going to be this bad forever. They have a really bad stretch.
And the way the Rangers have completely fallen out of it has been unbelievable. Quinn is going to lose his job, okay? I don't know why anybody thinks that Quinn's going to keep his job. There are quite a few good coaches that are going to be available this offseason. The Rangers are going to have to make the right choice, and you know who I think the Rangers should go after. I've been saying this over and over again.
You and Josh both said Tortorella, right?
Tortorella is the guy. It would be a huge mistake, especially when he has come out and said that he does not want to go back to the Blue Jackets. You do anything and everything. JD has to do anything he possibly can to get John Tortorella back to New York. I do believe he is the guy. I think he's going to help a lot of these.
I heard him in Columbus.
I just think that he's the perfect fit. He should have never been let go by the Rangers when they decided to part ways with him. He's so energetic. He's perfect for New York. He really is. Especially a big squad like the Rangers. The Islanders, they needed a guy that's a drill sergeant. Barry Trotz was perfect for the Islanders. A great guy, great defensive-minded guy. The Islanders were one of the worst defensive teams in the league for many, many years. They put a great defensive mind in, and they're the number one defense in all of hockey. So looking at where the Rangers are, the Rangers have deficiencies. They need to add defensive players, and they need a coach that would fit this roster. I think John Tortorella would be perfect. Speedy, who do you got?
I want Claude Julien, who's similarly fired from Montreal for whatever reason. He was doing a great job with that young team. Won a playoff series last year in the bubble against the Penguins that they had no business being there, or they had no business winning. And they were doing all right. I mean, they got off to a hot start. They fell off in the beginning, in the middle of the season. Then he got fired. But again, it was kind of expected. That team is not overly talented, and they were keeping him afloat in not a great division, but still, they should have never been where they were. So I think that combined with a physical style that he always had with the Bruins, the Rangers have lacked a physical style for years, and that has hindered them in the playoffs in the past, in addition to streaky offensive players. But that physical style, it's obviously fading from the game, but it's still necessary to win in the playoffs. The Lightning got better, and we've had when we had Kevin Weeks on the Weekend Crunch, he mentioned that the Lightning got better because they actually got some guys that were physical guys, depth guys to help out, because they were just having a one-way identity. You need that to some extent, whether it comes from players or whether it comes from coaching.
We should get Kevin Weeks back on the show. We really should. I think Kevin would be interesting. Reach out to Kevin.
Yeah.
Reach out to Kevin, see if we can get him on the show.
Yeah, so regardless if it's in that sense, a physical style is
Bye,
necessary.
Carl. Well, we got Carl over here.
Thanks for listening, Carl. And thanks for finally agreeing with me for once.
Oh, God.
But yeah, Claude Julien would be my guy, just especially what he's done with Montreal with the young players. That proves he could do a little more with the young players, because I think at the end of his Bruins tenure, he wasn't doing as well, but then he started to change that again in Montreal. So that is promising for me. So he would be my top choice.
And Josh, you look at the Rangers right now. What do you think the Rangers need to do at the trade deadline? Do you think they trade away pieces to add more draft stock? I don't think they need any more young players. What I think they need to do is do anything and everything they can this offseason or even at the trade deadline to get that number one guy.
They definitely need a number one defenseman.
They do very badly.
They need another center. They really need another center. They desperately need another center. From all the blogs and from everything I'm reading from every analyst, they're saying that they think the Rangers will offer the most pieces for Jack Eichel. I mean, we'll see if that comes to fruition or not. I don't know if he's going to be worth what they're going to.
5 days away, 4 days away. He's getting traded.
He's getting traded. And everybody's saying that right now, even in Vegas, too, they picked the Rangers as the favorites to get him. And it's a huge odds favorite, actually, over L.A. now. They think that L.A. doesn't want to give up Byfield, which is what the Sabres want, understandably so. I do think the Rangers will end up in a way to getting Eichel. I don't know how. The salary cap is going to come off the books for them. That's a huge thing for them. They need it's coaching. I mean, Julien would be a good hire. The guy I desperately, really, really, really wanted. I don't know if Errol remembers this, Speedy. I don't think I ever told you.
No, I think you told me he was Laviolette last year.
It was Laviolette. I really wanted Peter Laviolette. I think Peter Laviolette was the perfect guy for this. He's been to every stop that Laviolette has been to. Hey, he's been a success. I mean, that's just
a good coach.
Fact. I mean, look at Washington. Everybody, what'd you say?
He's a good coach.
He's a great coach. I mean, look what he's doing with everybody thought the Capitals were finished. They were done. They're old. They're over that's it. They had their run. And now they're back. They're right there.
They got a great young goaltender.
They have a great young goaltender, and they're right there again. I mean, everybody thought after last year, they're finished. It's done. Their run is over.
The best goalies in the NHL are Russian.
They needed that. There was a shot in the arm.
The best goalies in the NHL are Russian. Just go look. I mean,
it's true. I mean, but even
a Russian goalie right now coming out of the draft this year is Russian. I mean,
he's a first round pick.
Yeah.
The kid Oscar as well. He got picked last year from Nashville, I believe. He was Russian as well. Yeah, Yaroslav.
That was a weird pick because they have Saros as a nice young goalie.
Well, I mean, and then you even look at Gerard Gallant. Gerard Gallant is a guy that I looked at that he went to Vegas, took a bunch of guys from the expansion draft, put them together, and said, "All right, let's go for it." And they went to the Stanley Cup final. And I think that's kudos to him. He kind of brought relevancy back to the Florida Panthers a little bit as well when he was over there in Florida. I don't know if Torts will come back. I don't know if Torts would want to come back. He did burn a lot of bridges when he was there, though, kind of with the way everything went out. Go ask Chris Kreider. I mean, he had no faith in Chris Kreider at all. Chris Kreider's become a really good player. That's something that would have to be fixed.
Kreider didn't play defense when he was there. Kreider was afraid of jumping in front of the puck.
Time, he's learning the game, and he was so young.
Yeah,
he was so. I mean, if not for him, in that 2012,
who hired him as the Blue Jackets?
First round, we're losing the first round to Ottawa. If not for him, they called him up right after the college playoff was over. He went right to the Rangers.
I was at one of those playoff games.
He went right there, and he played, and he killed Ottawa in that series.
I was at one of those playoff games in 2012. The one of the ones they lost, I think 2-0.
Oh my God! It was, but like there's so many good coaching guys out there. Like even Arrow said, there's so many guys. You got Gallant, you got Julian, you got Lav. You got Tortorella. That's probably gonna be there. There's so many different guys.
What's his name again from not Toronto? Yeah, Toronto.
Oh, Mike Babcock.
Babcock's another one. I mean, there's and the problem with Babcock is he's a great defensive coach, but Toronto said, "Hey, we're just going to give you all offensive players, and whatever you have on defense, we're just going to throw at your way and see if you can fix it."
Nobody said the Leafs were smart,
and it's not that easy. All right, so
we know they're dumb.
There's just a lot of guys out there.
They overpaid for a guy that is going to turn out to be the biggest bust for that organization.
But most importantly, they lost to a Zamboni driver.
Yes, they did. They did. Who was on their practice squad, by the way?
Nice. and he deserves it after that.
and you know what's the best record in hockey? Toronto. And you know who's going to be eliminated in the first round in hockey?
That'll be so
Toronto.
fun. They crash and burn.
Toronto. They're going to be eliminated first in the NHL playoffs.
I think especially
I love the Islanders. I love Washington. I still also have a lot of faith in what Tampa and what Carolina are doing too. Mm-hmm. Those are pesky. And like I told you guys on the Weekend Crunch, it's so tough this year to really digest on what's happening because you don't get a chance to see, okay, the Islanders play Tampa or Washington plays Carolina. Okay, we lost them 3-2 or 3-1. Okay, so what do we need to do to beat them next time? We have to watch game film on what we need to do to improve at the deadline. You don't get that thing this year. The first time you're gonna see these teams is in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So all different. It's so tough this year to read.
It makes it interesting.
It makes a whole new area of
interesting. It's a whole
yeah.
I still think Colorado to me is
they're still
Colorado. Carolina was my cup pick at the start of the year.
I love the Islanders are right there. To me, it's Colorado, the Islanders, Tampa, Carolina, and Vegas all in that top five to me. I put Washington very close. Damn, Colorado's a good freaking team, though, man. I mean, everybody was panicking, all the Avalanche fans, that they were struggling in the beginning of the year. I said, you guys kidding me? Have you seen the talent on this team? Come on.
Yeah, they also had all those goalie injuries, too. Which
and they had a COVID outbreak. Right. They had a COVID outbreak and they had all the injuries. And then they overcame it.
I'd like to see the Islanders get to the Stanley Cup. But
I don't.
I know you don't, but I like to see them go into the Belmont.
Would you drink? I know you're not a drinker. Would you drink if they won the Stanley Cup?
No. I will celebrate.
Oh, my God.
I'd like to see the Islanders go into their new stadium as a Stanley Cup champion. And they're going to be a good team for many, many years to come.
Do you think right now, do you think they're winning the Stanley Cup?
No. I still think it'll be edgy, but if they play the way they did, Sorokin is a better goaltender than Varlamov. Going into the playoffs, the confidence of what Sorokin is playing right now, he's as good as any goalie in the NHL right now.
Who's better than the Islanders in your eyes? I know we have to leave.
Tampa and Carolina, definitively. The Capitals on paper
He was asking me, but okay.
He didn't specify.
I was wanting to ask whoever was listening, but I was more asking.
The Capitals on paper are, but they've also had duds in the playoffs, too.
The Capitals are not better than the Islanders. I don't know what you're talking about. The Capitals are definitely not. I would say Colorado and Vegas. I would say that. Tampa and the Islanders, I would say Tampa and the Islanders are very close. I think the Islanders are better than Carolina. I think they're better than Florida. So I would say
the thing about Tampa is how good Tampa is, but we don't know.
I would say
they're going to get Kucherov back
in the Eastern Conference. I'd say Tampa. In the Western Conference, I'd say Colorado and Vegas. That's about it. I think the Islanders are the fourth best team right now in all of hockey. Especially adding Palmieri and Zajac.
You almost said Zibanejad. You almost said Zibanejad.
Yeah, well, I think that it's very close. Right? And right now, Sorokin is as hot as any goalie in the NHL. And when you have a hot goalie playing as high as this kid is playing, you're going into the playoffs very confident that you're going to be able to compete against anybody. So. I with that defense and with that goaltending, who's going to score against them? Sorokin has given up in 5 games. He's given up what was it? 8 goals, 7 goals in 5 games.
That's why them against Tampa would be so fascinating. Would be so fascinating because those are two such physical teams that really strictly do defense. I think Tampa has a little more offensive, especially with Kucherov coming back, but.
Who's the better goalie? That's a good question.
We don't. I guess right now I would have to give it to Vasilevsky only because of his history in the playoffs, winning a Stanley Cup. That's the only reason why. You just have to go by the background.
He outperformed Bishop when Bishop was there in the playoffs a lot of the
time.
And
that's the thing. Other than look, what Sorokin's doing is incredible. I would only give it to Vasilevsky only because he won the Cup last year.
Rookie of the year right now is
and he's won a Vezina.
The rookie of the year right now is Sorokin. Now Sorokin is the rookie of the year right now.
Absolutely.
Anybody that argues that no offensive. I mean, what Sorokin is doing right now is incredible. He started off the season with 2 really, really bad losses, and all the Islander fans saying, I don't know why we brought him up this quick.
Yeah, the Rangers shelled him for like 5-0.
Where everybody jumps off the bridge after game number 2.
If you look,
sounds familiar.
If you look at what, well, it sounds like the beef. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, Sorokin is having a sensational year. He's played 14 games. He's 10-3. His goals against he has a 2.18 goals against average, save percentage at .915, 2 shutouts. I mean, who's played better than him? I mean, and especially when he gets a chance to play. I think the Islanders need to play him more. He needs to play. You need to start.
I think they just want to keep Varlamov fresh just in case an injury happens or anything. That's what it comes down to. Because even last year, it happened last year with Greiss and Varlamov. It was like situations happen where if you didn't keep Greiss fresh and he went in cold, how was he going to do anything? And I understand where you're going. You want him to start full time.
I do. I want to say why not?
And he's going to. He will be that guy. He is going to be that guy. They want to keep Varlamov ready. You never know. Listen, a guy. They're playing in the conference finals. Victor Hedman shoots the puck. It goes off Sorokin's shoulder, and there's no padding there. And he's out, and Varlamov hasn't played in 2 or 3 months. That's a problem. That's why you need to keep all hands on deck with things.
Yeah, especially in this kind of year, too. You're seeing a lot more goalie platoons.
Absolutely.
I'm just looking at the goalies, the save percentages, some of them have unbelievable. What's his name again?
So right now, Peter Mrazek leads the league at .962.
Yeah, but he's only played.
He doesn't play all the
games.
time.
No.
I think most of the guys on this list haven't played all the time.
Well,
he's still such a pain in the ass in the playoffs, though, man.
So Vasilevsky's the leader among all the guys that consistently
He's
start.
crazy good.
Yeah.
He's the best goalie in the league.
And
he's crazy good.
And it's Leonard, Fleury, Varlamov, and Sorokin, really, after that.
Yeah.
Vasilevsky's the best goalie in the league. It's crazy good how.
Yeah.
It is crazy good how he. And that team is so freaking. It's just not fair.
What is the rookie goal scoring? Where's the rookie numbers? The rookie numbers.
The rookie leader in goals is Kaprizov on the Wild.
What does he have?
I think he has 13 or 14
right now. I would say Sorokin is the rookie of the year.
I would say so too.
Yeah, he's the rookie of the year. Yeah, he has to be. I mean, he's 10-3, has a 2.18 goals. He's amongst the league leaders in top 15 in goals against and save percentage. I mean, a rookie. So I would say Sorokin is the rookie of the year. If the season
it's a lot harder for a goalie too.
If the season were to end right now, I'm not saying this because I'm an Islander fan. I would give it to Sorokin. Sorokin is rookie of the year. So, but again, we'll see. It's still a lot of. How many games left do we have? What is it? We have 15, 16 games.
It's in that range with the teens.
Yeah, we're almost done. You got when did the playoffs start?
May, beginning of May.
Later May because the season started later.
May,
but there's a shortened season.
And then after this year, they'll go back to normal. I think they start again in October.
Yeah, they had to have one shortened.
They're saying that the playoffs they might be at a full-fledged people in the stadium. That's what they're saying.
Be interesting.
Well, they're saying
the Texas Rangers are letting 100% capacity in their stadium. Those people. So I mean, look.
The Dallas Stars can let in full capacity of their playoff arena, and then they'll still have nobody there because they're not going to make it.
There you go.
So, by the way, Kaprizov has 16 goals, 18 assists. So, yeah, I probably would still favor Sorokin a little bit, even though Kaprizov has played very well. So.
Yes, you'll see. Sorokin will be up there. They might give it to the goal scorer, but
yeah,
I think you're looking at a goalie that has really shown why the Islanders and everybody says that he was the best goaltending prospect since what's his name again? The Russian goaltender from the USSR. I forget his name.
Oh, Vladislav Tretiak.
Yes, they were comparing his skills to Tretiak, whatever his name is. Mm-hmm. But also, I think the Rangers have a good young star goaltender too. They have two of them that are Russian. There's a lot of good. I think when you look at the Russian goaltending, you see the difference of what Russian goaltending can bring to the NHL. That's it for our show, ladies and gentlemen. Long show today. A very good show. A lot of arguing, a lot of outrageous, crazy stuff. Unfortunately, a lot of things happened today that didn't make me very, very happy. So, but I'm happy.
That happens every day.
No, you know why I wasn't happy. But I want to give a shout out. I want to give a shout out to all the fans that listen to our shows, our network, throughout the network every single day. Great a bunch of shows today. The B show was today, so there was a couple of good shows today. So Ryan Hickey show was very good today too. So I watched Ryan's show early today. So we will be back next week on Wednesday, 2-hour show on Wednesday. We will be here from 9 to 11 on Wednesdays and 9 to 12 on Thursdays. So stay tuned. How are you feeling from your car accident, by the way?
I'm fine. I'm just pissed off. I got to go to this freaking thing tomorrow. That's what I'm pissed off. That's an inconvenience to me.
Yeah, but if she pays it all off, what do you got to deal with, you know?
Well, we'll see if she actually does. I can't see why she wouldn't, but...
Well, if she doesn't, we could stick a finger up her ass. How's that sound?
I mean, you could do it if you want. I have her address. She sent me... I mean, I have a picture of her license, so, I mean, there's that. I could air her dirty laundry.
Do you have a picture of her in a bikini?
I do not. I can do it on the Weekend Crunch on 103.9. I can do it on the FM dial. That really scared the shit out of her. Excuse my language.
Is she a decent looking woman?
Sorry, I don't ever try.
Is she decent? Is she decent or what?
I mean, it was just so funny because I was ready to get out of the car and say, my bad.
You wanted to spank her.
And you get out of the car and she goes, that's my fault. She's screaming, Mom, it's on me. It's on me. I was like,
she called you mom?
Well, I was like this, and I was like, yeah, it's your fault.
Figures.
You know what, though? It's really just the front bumper and the grill. That's honestly what.
No, it doesn't look that bad. I saw the picture. It's not that bad.
It's
you got lucky.
It goes to me. My wife goes. She goes, "Oh, that looks worse." And I saw on the picture. It's the front bumper and the grill. It's like $300.
No, it's more than that. It's more than
I've seen how much it costs to get the replacement.
Well, you need to get a paint. You need to get a paint. You got to see if anything shifted. They might have to fix a bracket. In the where the. Also,
I would say $800-900.
I think it's going to be more than that. I think it's going to be between $1,200 and $1,300.
Oh, lovely! That makes me feel better.
But I think she'll pay it, and I think one way or another, your insurance will pay for it. If anything, it won't raise your insurance that much, so you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. I'm telling you. If you claim it on your insurance, it'll probably cost you. I told you, maybe an extra $15 a month on your insurance. It's not.
I was talking to Melissa about that, and she was telling me, she's like, "No, it's going to go way more up than that."
No. I'm telling you, Listen, you could tell Melissa, when I'm at the hospital, I've been in 3 accidents in almost 5 years, okay? My insurance has only gone up in 3 accidents, $30, $35. And I had full coverage. There is no way your insurance is going any more than that. So you tell Melissa that she can come and see me. Whatever insurance company you have. What do you have, Geico?
Yeah, I got Geico.
You're fine. Don't worry about it. That's it for our show, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to the Weekend Crunch with me, Joshua Silverberg, and Speedy Petey as we talk more into sports, and it's a crazy show, just like the great and powerful Sports Loudmouth. So
maybe I'll make you two argue Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey.
Maybe.
No. And I love how every time when I argue, it's so funny when Aaron and I have like an argument and we talk. And I will always back Speedy up.
Of course.
Always do. But you look back at the tape, when I argue with Errol, Speedy always chimes in, Errol is right about this. And I'm just like, you son of a monkey. I am never sticking up for you ever again. I am so Speedy.
No, Speedy and me we usually agree with things. There are things that we agree with.
I was so tempted to get up, go get a bag of popcorn, and just come back and be like this. It's good stuff.
It was. And if you guys missed it, you can go and check it out again. The replay of the show. I'm sure Speedy will cut and paste that baby out.
That's our clip tonight. Yeah, of course.
It was a great show, and we'll be back on Wednesday, so stay tuned for that, for the Sports Loudmouths. This is Errol Marks, Joshua Silverberg, and the great Tidy Whitey man himself, Speedy Petey, saying good night. And we'll talk to you next week. Tune in to 103.9, the LI News Radio Network, on Saturday at 7 p.m. for the Weekend Crunch. Good night, everybody.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.